Folks, we are live. Welcome to Talking Crit with Tenkar, my once a week work spouse, Bad Mike, and below us, just because he's a guest, and is none other than Bill Barsh, Pacesetter Games. By the way, Bill, we had a lot of complaints about when we had Kelsey on that we, and I'm going to point my
I talked to
uh,
him. No, it's me. It was me that I
yeah,
talked too much.
that we talk too much, and we had
Ah,
to explain that we don't do interviews. We have guests,
that we hang
and
out with. Yes.
yeah, so that means we're all going to be fucking yapping. So, miscreants in the live stream. If you want Mike or I to shut up, say so. But I'll probably take I'll be like 10 minutes late to get to your comment, so
There's
we
no
won't
way
do
we're
it.
gonna. No, Bill is gonna start talking, and we won't be able to get a word in edgewise for two and a
Yeah,
half
I'm
hours.
not logged in, so you don't have to worry about me not talking. I'm not logged in, so I can't see the chat. I'll
Okay,
just see
good.
it on the screen down there. So
All
I'll
right.
try and
Well,
watch yourself if anybody has
but,
anything. And I'm
Well,
I'm sorry I came on and I'm lowering your ratings after having Luke and Kelsey on.
yeah,
So
man, that was
now you're
quite a.
going right back down to the
I
tank.
know that was a double shot of a ratings bonanza. Now it's like let's.
You're gonna
It's
have
kind
a
of
dip. You're gonna have
yeah.
the dip.
It's like the Bud Light. It's like Bud Light of.
Oh
Did I
no,
say it out
please,
loud?
please.
it's
It's
Bud
like the
Light,
Bud Light of
Miller Light. I mean,
yeah.
they're all doing a suicide
Yeah,
dance.
yeah. It's like we were doing great that we had Bill on. It's like those numbers. No, the reason we're going to have Bill on because first of all we haven't talked to him in a while, and second of all he's going to be a special guest in North Texas, so we're going to see him in a few weeks for that. But third of all, he's formed a partnership with Chris Holmes, who I was just telling Eric, he doesn't get enough credit. He comes to North Texas every year. I mean,
Every
Chris
year.
Holmes is the son of uh, uh,
Eric.
Jay Eric. God,
Eric.
I couldn't name
That's
it.
all
Eric
right.
Holmes, who wrote the basic Blue Book and wrote some D&D related fiction and stuff, and actually some really good D&D related fiction. If you want to read stories that read like they actually happen at a gaming table, that's Holmes' stuff. And so anyway, his son Chris comes every year, and he doesn't get enough credit for that because he just has some amazing knowledge about the history of the game, and he's formed a kind of a partnership with Bill here, and you're publishing something for him, correct, or something he wrote?
Yes. So last November, it was November, December. I can't remember the exact time. Was it late fall, early winter? Chris approached us with I'll say an opportunity that I'm going to elaborate on that. But he found a map from his dad's original D&D campaign, his home campaign map, and when I say map, this was done on like old accounting graph paper. If you guys remember what it was, so it's like this real 11 by 17 huge sheets with these tiny squares, right? They're like 1/16 of an inch.
Oh,
so
God.
it's one page, but that turned into 3 8.5 by 11 sheets of regular graph paper map. So he had this map and had some notes on it. And he said, "I'd really like to do something with this," and what do you think? And we jumped on it faster than lightning. We're like all about it, right? I mean, the John Holmes legacy is, like you said, Mike, it can't be understated enough. I mean, in my opinion, that's the guy that brought Dungeons and Dragons. That the Holmes Basic set was the first mass-produced retail D&D product to hit the shelves anywhere in America. I mean, we could talk about the Little Brown Books all we want, but a couple thousand copies out of 3 printings prior to that. So
that was my first buy. I bought the Holmes box set.
A ton of people's first buy.
That was my first buy.
Same with me. It was same with me, and same with tens of thousands of other people. So, and the thing is, Holmes, for people who don't know the story about back then, is I'll try to be brief. TSR, Gygax and Anderson produced D&D, and it was 3 little books in a little box, digest size. It was sold at conventions, ads in gaming magazines of the time, and newsletters from, small regional digests that went out to people, that kind of thing. It was not a retail product, right? So, they wanted to first put out a retail product, but they were also moving out of that into AD&D. So that was in the works, but they needed to bridge that gap. So in comes John Holmes, and he said, "Hey, I've kind of worked on this. What do you think about my idea of putting this book together where I kind of organize the rules a little better? Because let's be honest, the original 3 books,
oh dear God,
are a train wreck.
Not just that, but the supplements too. I mean, they just
Right.
had stuff willy nilly, you know. So
they're a mess, right? They're just a mess. And
Right.
so he had an idea to, hey, let me take this and kind of put this together. And they jumped on it. They had him do the 64-page rule book, which is considered a basic rule book, I guess you would say. It was really the first D&D starter set. And it went in the box with that Sutherland cover, the iconic red dragon sitting on the pile of treasure. In the box went geomorphs, which were pre-designed maps, a monster and treasure assortment to stock your dungeon, and some dice and the rule book. And for really tens of thousands of us, that was our first exposure to D&D. It was also our last exposure to John Holmes in the D&D world. So, like I said, Chris kind of stumbled upon this map and said, "Would you be interested?" I said, "Hell yeah, let's make this happen." So we really started work on it immediately. We brought our whole Pacesetter team in, and the funny thing is, 3/4 of our team was born after the home set was produced. You know, they're young, so but they were so excited to touch this thing because it's a legacy project, right? I mean,
Right.
I call it an opportunity, but it's you know, I'm just completely humbled about being able to do this, and that Chris selected us to bring this out. So we got to work on this module. Well, about a month later, he found 2 more maps. So this thing grew exponentially. I think it ended up it's got 6 8.5 by 11 sheets of maps when we're all said and done that we've redrawn to work. We're including the original maps and notes in this module, which, by the way, I think is 76 pages long. It's huge.
Wow.
Yeah, it's big. It's got 113 individual encounters with full player descriptions, stat blocked out, and all the rest. So
now, what rule set are you using with this? What rule set?
Well, that's a great question, Mike, and I was kind of hoping you would ask that. So we were kind of struggling here because when we first started down this road, I jumped on there's a Facebook page dedicated to Holmes D&D, and I said, "Hey, we got this opportunity. We're moving forward with this, you know." And my first thought was, what rule set am I going to do with this? The obvious question is, well, you just use the Holmes rule set, right? Well, that's a problem because this dungeon is really like we've dropped as much as we could. It's like 4th to 6th level is as low as we can make this thing and still keep all of his stuff in there because we want this needs to be more Holmes and less me. Is how I looked at it.
Right.
So that created a problem. So
because for those who don't know, Holmes is only written for levels 1 through 3. So
yes,
past that, there's no instructions about how to go past that.
Right, and the idea was you play Holmes and you move into AD&D. That was their concept. Right. Well, AD&D and Holmes rules are
worlds apart.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they don't mesh.
It's not a thing. So so that kind of put me in a quandary. So I kind of floated a couple ideas. You know, we would either use BX to do it because that's a very popular system right now. We've done a ton of BX stuff. We've got our own BX rule system, and you know, or we do it for AD&D, or we go something completely out of the box, and I expand out the Holmes rule set to higher level. And we wound up deciding that that's what we're going to do because that honestly works best with the content that we have. So, it's Holmes D&D, but it's extrapolated out to higher levels, and we've actually designed a rule set along with the adventure module, pretty much based on our BX RPG. Though we were thankfully we already have that, so we're able to dissect that rule set, change the Holmes stuff, you know, the Holmes basic rules, some mechanics. You know, BX uses a 3-point alignment system. Holmes uses a 5. The 5 is way better anyway. I hate the 3-point system. The 3-point alignment system in BX sucks. The dexterity-based initiative. So your initiative is based on your dexterity score. That's a Holmes thing. It's not a BX thing, but you know, we were able to keep all that in there. So We kept all that home stuff in there and just kind of put a new rule set together to go along with it. But you don't need it. You could absolutely play this module using BX or AD&D or almost any classic D&D system, and not really miss a beat. The stats are pretty detailed. We've got it. It's all like every Pacesetter product. We fully stat our stuff out, so
Right.
It will work with just about any system prior to second edition AD&D, I would say.
So there are, I don't know if you've looked at them before or seen it. There are two homes you can call. There's one called Blue Home, which I thought did a very good job.
It's a nice book.
And there's, I think it's called the Gray Book or the Gray something, and it basically extrapolates homes out to 10th level or 9th level. I don't know. Did you look at either one of those and see what they did?
I looked at Blue Home. So I have Blue Home. I backed the Kickstarter way back in the day. It's a nice set, and I like it. I recommend it. It's a great book. The problem is we're going to get into probably some IP issues if I start messing around with other people's rule systems and sets. And as great as Blue Home is, it kind of departs a little bit, not for any bad reason, from what I actually got from Chris Holmes. The notes and everything that were in there, of kind of where this was going. It would fit, but I don't want to speak for somebody else. I don't want to base it on another rule system that is totally disconnected from it in a way. But you could use Blue Home 100%. And I'm not real familiar with the other one. I've heard about it also, but I'm not real familiar with the other one.
It's pretty basic.
Yeah,
it may still be in print on Lulu. I don't know, but my issue with Blue Home would just be that I think Blue Home is a good system, but it does depart from Homes. I mean, it's like somebody took Homes and said, okay, here's my house rule of how I should run Homes. And I think honestly it runs better than Homes, but it's not completely Homes. It's a house rule. It's a house rule Homes.
We kept ours fairly close to the Homes mechanic rule set. I mean, like I said, a dexterity-based initiative. We extrapolated all the charts out. Some of that stuff is like almost matches BX identically anyway. Yeah. So that was real easy. But we kept the mechanics pretty much in line. We've added some things. I mean, you have to, right? You just can't. As much as we love that experience from 1977, I don't want to put out a product that is identical to 1977. It's, we have an audience to think about. And so, and you still want to keep things exciting, but I think it's pretty close and it's pretty tight. We kept ours at 10th level too. I don't know. I just don't see, Homes D&D really needing to go beyond that. We have some ideas for the future. We'll see how this goes with this rule set. But again, you don't have to have it to play this module in the least. You could absolutely play this with any, like I said, plastic or classic system, even the retro clones, Swords and Wizardry, complete, Blue Home, like you mentioned already, OSE. Right. You can play with any of those. That's a cool feature of it, but the cool feature is it's John Eric Holmes' home campaign, which for me, one of the exciting things when I got working on this was I'm like, I got to refamiliarize myself with, first of all, I went back and I read Maze Apparel all over again. I haven't read it in forever.
By the way, so those who don't know, Maze Apparel contains all the fiction that Holmes wrote. And let me tell you, so it's not great fiction, but I'll tell you what it is. It's like somebody took a D&D campaign and wrote exactly what happened. And if you want a good example of how D&D was run in the 70s, that is probably the best book out there that explains it, because he uses the spells. I mean, it's like I said, it's like he's relating what happened. It might be a D&D group around that. I don't know, but that's exactly what it reads like. And it is an amazing artifact of the time because it tells you exactly how D&D adventures ran in the 70s. So I highly recommend that book.
I absolutely recommend it. It's a great read. It's a fast read. It's only 150 pages long, something like that. It's not a full novel. But the coolest part in the world to me is when I read it, and then I went back and I was looking at all my stuff. The stuff that I have is the Maze Apparel dungeon. That's exactly what he based his book on. Was this adventure? Cool.
Yeah.
So
which makes sense because that's what it reads like.
Cool.
It reads like a D&D adventure. And he all can't remember. Yeah. He also wrote 3 really good short stories in Dragon Magazine. I don't know if they made it to Maze Apparel, and I can't remember. It's been a while. But he had 2 characters. It was a jester and a thief. And I can't remember Boingo and something, and those
Boinger's
are really good too.
halfling. It was that's one of Chris Holmes's characters actually. So
and those are great.
Yeah.
Those are worth looking for too if you happen to go to some old Dragon magazines.
For sure. So I know that Blackblade did a compilation with a bunch more stuff. You know, the one I read, I have my Blackblade one somewhere. I just don't know where it's at, but
mine's downstairs.
I grabbed this. You can get Maze Apparel, just that book by itself off Amazon. It's like $10, $12, something like that.
I think the Blackblade, maybe they included the other stories then, because I know the original Maze Apparel didn't. So I'd have to look for that. But that's well worth getting, because like I said, it's just like a snapshot of D&D in the 70s. It's exactly what it is. It's like you're having somebody tell you about their campaign. Well, here's what happened. We all walked in there, and a dragon did this, and this happened. I mean, that's exactly how it reads. It's really, really interesting.
It is, and like I said, putting it together, if you read, I highly recommend read Maze Apparel and then read this module, and you can watch that take. You can watch the novel take place in the module. It's fantastic. Because it's all in there. He included.
So there's a dragon. There's a dragon turtle. Spoilers.
There's not a dragon turtle.
Oh, because that destroys the party.
But there is a purple worm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not good.
No, it's awful. But we like I said, more homes, less me is how I approach this. Now, that being said, like I said, if you purchase this module, it's going to be available at Texas and on our website during the North Texas Convention, and that's going to probably be it. We're kind of limiting this thing, and we're printing them like a regular book. So we're going to have them in stock and all that. But the tough part about this was, so Chris sent me all this stuff, right? So I'm expecting, when he said map with notes, I was expecting sheets of notes, like we would write stuff out in a book or something when we designed these adventures. That's not what this is. It's maps, and there'll be a room that'll say 2 skeletons, scimitar, 500 silver pieces. That's it. That's what I have to go off of.
That's how they did it back in the day.
That's how we did, right? We all did a lot of that. So, and that's the stuff I could actually read, because this is a pencil drawn map. We got to remember, these are original maps from circa 1975, 76, 77. It's prior to 77. I know that for sure. So and they're done in pencil. So it's aged, we're talking stuff that's 46, 47 years old now. So some of this was very difficult to read, and I bounced it off Chris, and we kind of figured most things out, but there's not a lot of detail to go with on this. So there was enough to get me started for sure. And then, like I said, once I went back and read Maze Apparel again, I'm like, the floodgates open. I'm like, oh, I know where I'm going to go with this, and I'm going to go with this. So, and I really worked hard to make sure that this is as Holmesian as it could possibly be. If you want to play D&D like you played D&D back in 1977, this is absolutely the adventure for you. It's a little scattershot. You can one room do this, and next room is something wildly different, but it does a lot of it makes sense in the end. There is a kind of a cohesive storyline to it, and it was a hell of a lot of fun, and it was a hell of a lot of work. But I really, like I said, I think we took this thing extremely seriously. I mean, I think one of the reasons we really, really wanted to do this too was we wanted to get John Holmes' legacy out there for people to be able to acquire today, because the only way you're getting anything out of, if you want anything, you're going to go pay $400 on eBay for a basic set, right? Mm-hmm. And we all love the sample dungeon in there, right? Everyone loves the sample dungeon in
Tower of Xenopus. Oh yeah, Tower of Xenopus has.
So this
has a whole fan club now. Yes.
We even kind of linked this to that, because you can tell basically what he did is he took his home campaign and took pieces of it out and built that sample dungeon. Clear as day. It's just, there's stuff in there that I don't want to spoil anything. I want people to be able to open this up and go through it. We want to bring his legacy forward so people can actually have access to it today. And that was really important to us. That was part of this whole thing. It was also, we're doing this for the Holmes family and the Holmes estate. So, part of everything part of the proceeds from all this project go right back to them. This wasn't something for us just to, it's a great opportunity, but we wanted to do more with it than just say this is an opportunity. It means too much. I mean, when are we going to get I look at it, I kind of look at it this way, like how much stuff are we ever going to see in the future come from like an old dungeon from Dave Arneson or Gary Gygax or any of that? I mean, Gary stuff, there's stuff, but holy shit, are we ever going to see it? Right? We don't know.
Yeah.
Dave Arneson, we're probably never going to see anything of his original stuff ever again. So to have the opportunity to put something out from a legend, I think John Holmes is a legend for what he did. I mean, he introduced hundreds of thousands of people to Dungeons and Dragons and made it accessible and made it.
So I mean, for those who did,
reasonable.
so I had a friend, Dr. Joe, who'll be at the com, I think a day or two, but he's the guy that taught me D&D or got me into D&D. And so I went to the hobby store and there was the blue box. And so I got that. And then this book called Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and then a monster manual. Cause at that point, Dungeon Master.
That's all there was.
And so the D&D basic set played well because there was a module with it. B1 came with it. And there was a Towers and Opus in there. And so I was like, okay, well, there's something to run in here. Whereas, and so we ran a few sessions of it and then realized, okay, we need to be playing AD&D because this is cool, but it's showing third level spells, but I can't get third level spells because, we can't be fifth level. And so anyway, but I just can't imagine the amount of people that was their first introduction to D&D in 1977, 78, 79, because everything was in there. And then after a while, I did the Holmes Basic set eventually had B2 in it also, right?
It did. It started with the first two or I'd have to look on the KM for exact chronology, but the first 2 or 3 printings had the Monster and Treasure assortment, first to third level, and Dungeon GM set 1, and the rule book.
Right.
And that went like 3 printings, and then they dropped B1 in there, which was great because it needed that.
That was
and
the
Monster and Treasure assortment stayed in. I'm gonna get confused on that, but yeah, they brought B1 in there.
I don't think my copy had that. My copy didn't have that, so they must have taken that out at a certain point. I'm pretty sure
they did. They removed it after the first few printings. Then it dropped B1 in. They kept B1 in for a number of printings, and then they dropped B2 in for a number of printings. So the home set was in print for quite a a while, actually.
It was huge. It was huge because even though, and then we talked about this a little bit, and we could talk about this more and bore the hell out of Eric but it was different than anything else. It was different than AD&D. It ended up being different than BX. There was nothing like it because if you understand what happened, Gary tasked him with doing this thing, but he didn't have to refer to anything that had gone before because there was no basic D&D before. All there was the 3 books that came in the brown box and the white box. Yep. Then there was the supplements 1 through 5, whatever, and that's it. So he was tasked with creating a beginning game that was the first beginning D&D game was Holmes D&D. And there was nothing else like that. That
like I said, I think that's why this project is so important, right? To me, it's more to me personally because the home set was my first touch point. That's what imprinted me on Dungeons and Dragons. Then, my first character died in the sample dungeon. I mean, I can never relive that or replay that ever again. But to me, it's not. So for me, that's my touch point. And I think it's the same for literally tens of thousands of people out there. And that's why I thought it was so important to be able to take this and do it justice. I mean, we could have just done something a lot simpler and smaller, and we chose not to. We said, we are going to attack this and do the best job we could possibly do and do it justice because Dr. Holmes deserves it. And
sure.
And it was great fun. I mean, Keelan Halverson redid the maps for us. So they're honestly legible and work. And he's a genius and he did it totally old school style. You're going to drop when you see him. They're amazing. He went back and he researched, and Keelan's 25, 26 years old. He's like Ben.
He's by the way, another one of our special guests. Awesome dude. And he is a huge D&D fan, huge old school fan, and that's why we love the guy. He
does all our cartography. So, but he totally changed. Out of what we normally do to do this, and it was phenomenal. He did a bunch of artwork in there for it too. We had Chris Holmes has done artwork because Chris Holmes is an illustrator. So we had him do, I think, 4 or 5 illustrations in there. We said, hey, pick your favorite things. And of course, he jumped right on the were sharks because he loves were sharks. So we're like, oh, you got to do the were shark. I mean, it's just iconic Holmes. So it's an exciting book. And like I said, it's huge, guys. I believe it's I could probably open it. It's 76 pages long, I think, altogether. And now, a dozen of those are maps, basically,
Right.
roughly. But it's big, and it's going to be it's going to be $25. That's it.
That's
So
it.
we want to make it available and accessible to everybody.
And this isn't going to be kickstarted.
Well,
It's
it's
not.
bigger than this. This is 52 pages.
And that looks
It's
pretty
big- it's
sweet. I
bigger
can't
than
wait to see that. I really can't wait to see that. It's gonna be
Wow.
awesome.
So that's
Yeah.
a good price point because ours is $25 and less.
Yeah,
pages.
we worked hard to keep the price down on it.
Mhm.
And like I said, we want to make it accessible. We understand how the economy and everything else is right now.
Sure.
but,
There's going to be too many cool things to buy though between B4.5 and then between the Holmes Dungeon,
Yeah.
and then you're going to have a special Independent Publishers Union digest,
dedication module, right? Yeah.
which is awesome. Was really awesome.
Yeah.
And then I swear there's something else by somebody else too that I'm
I'm sure
forgetting,
there
but
is.
it's going to be ridiculous. You're gonna walk up to that table. You're probably going to drop $100 walking through the door, which as it should be. I mean, come
As
on,
it should be.
this is all
but
good
like,
stuff.
I like to look at that's why Texas is special. You get an opportunity to buy things that you
Right.
don't get to do at other conventions. I mean, and this, like I said, this is special to me just because of the legacy that's involved here. It's not about Pacesetter. It's not about me. It's about Holmes, pure and simple. And
Anything you can rescue from those times, because you're right. I mean, we're looking
You're
back
not
in our
gonna-
mirror like 45, 50 years now. I mean, this
Yeah.
isn't, any, and the further along you get, the less chance there is of discovering this stuff because it disappears. It gets thrown away, it gets
And that's-
mislabeled, it gets
yes,
misfiled. So
'cause-
that's what's great. I mean, for those of you who know this story, I mean, Dave Arness's stuff almost got tossed in a dumpster because his family stopped paying his rent on his storage unit, and that was rescued by some gamers that realized what it was when somebody else told them about it. So yeah, all Arness's stuff was about to get tossed, and that's what happens to a lot of the stuff, right? It just gets old, and people see, oh, there's a bunch of scribbles on a map, and they just throw it in the trash, and that's it.
Well, and like you said, Mike, I mean, this stuff we're talking about, these maps were 46, 47 years old. I mean, it's a lifetime ago. The odds that they came to life like this were 1,000,000 to 1, and this had to be done, right? And just like if anything would show up from Artisan or Gaiax or any of the other guys, it's rare, and it's just, we all know it's not going to happen very often. So
Right.
and
We
the
still
reason
have Castle Greyhawk out there somewhere, but
sure.
at this point, the legends have grown more than the actual dungeon. I think it would have to be a disappointment if it ever came out.
I got a feeling it's going to look a lot like what I got from Chris Holmes.
Yep, just one or two lines. Here's a skeleton.
Yeah. I got a feeling it's going to be
20 gold
it's
pieces,
probably a lot like that.
Mhm.
But it, and we pushed real hard to get this through too, because Chris, like you mentioned, Chris Holmes does come to NTX, and we wanted to have this book there for him this year and present it to him in person. That was important to us. People, if you pick it up at NTX, we'll have copies there. You can have Chris sign it. I think that would be spectacular.
He's a super nice guy too. Super nice
He is
guy.
so nice. Yeah, he is.
I
he
was
is
just telling Eric
enjoyable.
before the show that I think it's far past time we asked him to be a special guest of the show because he really does. He's a huge fan and he comes every year, and just a nice guy, super nice guy.
Yeah,
he will share stories. If you're interested in Holmes D&D, he can tell you some cool stories because he was a kid and he
can't
knows
say
all
enough
that
good
stuff.
things about your convention anyway. I mean, he absolutely loves it.
That's great. Well, he's a nice guy.
But
I think
so
his
that
brother came last year too, right? It was.
I believe so. Yes, he has an older brother.
Both came.
Yeah. So that's mostly about the module. So I mean, the specifics. It's 4th to 6th level. It's going to be $25. It's like I said, 76 pages long. It's a giant dungeon, and I'm telling you right now, there are some just absolutely amazing encounters in this thing that people will probably talk about if they play through it. You'll talk about it for a while. It's and it's deadly. This is not for the timid. This is old school D&D. You can die, and you probably will. And we can't get around that. I mean, like I said, I wanted to make sure that we kept what he put in there, right? I mean, I don't want to give it away, but it's 4th to 6th level. But there are things in there that no 4th to 6th level party should probably, once they realize what's going on, they should probably go the other way or get smart about it.
If you read Maze of Peril, it reads like the DM made this room. So I think they walk in a room and there's a dragon turtle. And it basically kills half the party. And you're like, this reads exactly like the DM put a monster was too tough for the party to fight, and they should have run away because you're not going to beat a dragon turtle when you're fourth level.
Yeah,
or
Maze Apparel's got a purple worm chasing the party through the whole thing. It's just killing people left and right, and we put it's in there. It has to be in there. It just has to be. And then there's an evil temple. We did some I'm sure unpolitically correct things. He was real big on Amazonians. So yeah. So when we first got all this and we saw that there's encounter areas with Amazonians in it, me and Ben kind of looked at each other and said, "Fuck it, we're doing it." Excuse my French, because I know wizards wouldn't go anywhere near it, but we're not wizards.
We can bash wizards in a little while. Let's talk about this.
Bash
then we'll bash wizards in a little bit.
But we wanted to again. Should be more Holmes and less me. Unfortunately, there was a lot of me in there just because of what we were handed. But I think the whole team worked really hard to make sure that we kept it as Holmesian as we could. So I think that's it in a nutshell for the adventure module. It's coming out. We're going to have it in person in Texas. Okay. We're bringing copies. Mm-hmm. It's going to go live on our website. It's going to go live on the website that week, the week of the convention. I'm not sure what day exactly, but we're going to cut it off most likely if it doesn't sell out, which it very well might. Probably the Monday after the con on our website, we'll probably be done with it. And there's reasons for this. We're really busy at Pacesetter. We got a lot of stuff going on. We have a lot of other projects going on. This one got dropped on us. Thank God it did, because it's an amazing opportunity for sure. It was our privilege to do it, but in the same breath, we gotta do it. We want to present it and get it out there, and then we have to move on to other things. So, and we want to make it unique. We want to make it, we want to make it special, I think, and there's plenty of opportunity to buy it. We'll post it everywhere, and I appreciate you guys having me on to be able to talk about it. I know we'll get exposure. Mm-hmm. The Texas crowd also, it has to be there, right? NTX is the pinnacle of those game conventions. So if it's got to be released anywhere, it's got to be released there. So it's not just an NTX exclusive, but it pretty much is, because it's only really going to be available for that weekend. We have plans down the road to do more with this stuff. Like I said, we mentioned earlier, we created a rule set for it. So the big thing we do with our rule set, Mike, is we did a player's guide and game master guide or dungeon guide. So there's 2 books. So it's not just one.
Yeah, I have a preview of those, and I looked.
Yes, I sent you guys
very interesting. Yeah, very cool.
A look-see, so you can get an idea what we're going for here. And that was important to us. It's really important for the way we do our rules anyway. We always like having a game master book and a player guide. It's what we did with our BX clone. We were the first ones ever to do it with BX. I think OSE might have done it with the new set. I'm not 100% sure. I should know that, but I know they have multiple books. I don't know exactly how their breakdown is, but so we're going to have copies of those rules at NTX. We're only going to print, I think we decided on 50 copies. So we're going to have 50 sets. They're going to be serial numbered because these are we call it a beta release set, because we are going to kickstart those rules in probably about a year. And the reason we serial numbered these sets are that if you purchase these books and you decide a year from now you want to back to Kickstarter, it's only 12 months away. You just drop $35. That's all we're charging for both, by the way. The set's $35. So what we're going to do is all you have to do is supply us your serial number during the Kickstarter. As long as you back any of the book level packages, you're going to get a exclusive Kickstarter mini campaign adventure that's only going to be available in the Kickstarter period, and you'll get it for free if you have one of those serial numbers from these books. So we're kind of providing value down the road with these books. So it's not just to kind of like, hey, buy this and then buy it again 12 months from now, but we want to put it out there because we want feedback too. We want people to play these rules. They're 100% complete, by the way. So you can play everything with this rule set. We call it a beta set, but it's a complete game. You won't need anything else. So that's our big kind of that's the first time I've announced it, by the way. We haven't put that out anywhere until tonight. that we even did these rules. So
Wow.
Very cool. I
Yeah,
started
we're
skimming
about
through the player's book already, so it looked pretty nice.
yeah, it's pretty simple. I mean, we tried to keep it kind of old school looking. So, but it is what it is. We're excited to get it out there.
By the way, somebody, Kim George snuck in. Tom Tullis.
Oh, okay, Cam.
Kim, my Walt Disney friend.
I know y'all accidentally on purpose met up at Disney.
Accidentally on purpose at Disney World. Yeah, my wife and I went down for, it was actually, I think, my daughter's birthday weekend. So we went down for 3 or 4 days. We have a place down there. But anyway, and I think I probably threw it on Facebook, or I think I saw Kim was going to be in Orlando. So I think I just messaged her on the side and said, hey, we're going to be down there, blah, blah, blah. What's going on? And she's like, hey, I'm doing this. We're going to be at Disney. I'm like, well, what park are you going to? Because we're going to Epcot. That's where my daughter wanted to go for a day, and it wound up working out. So we did the whole Guardians of the Galaxy met over there, and
wow,
it was great. It was great. It was great running into people outside of the convention space, right? So, yeah.
By the way, so Tom Tullis here too, and Kim's here having an ally. No, you don't. Kim thinks you're weird too, Tom. I'm sorry, but somebody had to say that. She pretends like she likes you. She pretends she likes you, but
I think Tom Tullis is okay. I know him and Ben.
He's all right. He's all right. He's just you can't trust him. I mean, you just really can't trust the guy because I asked him to go to North Texas every year, and
I think it's you guys. Well, that's a thing. We need to get his ass to Texas.
Well, he keeps saying I don't ask him, which is a lie. I've asked him like 50 times, and he's
Mike. You never ask. You never ask.
I think for him, it's a timing thing, isn't it? It's.
Yeah,
it is, unfortunately, but
yeah.
And we even said I'd make him a special guest. I mean, I don't know why I would do that. I'd just do it, but I would make him a special guest even. But no, he can't come. And now Kim is. I'm going to take this pod to take. Kim is an awesome person, awesome gamer. If you see her at con, you will immediately fall in love with her because she's so sweet and she has a great laugh, and she's just great because. And she, I believe she came to D&D kind of late in life, and she just jumped in. With both feet forward, and she is like part of the gang now, big time. So
she's an amazing person. Like I said, we ran into her at Disney World, and we just chatted for. I swear to God, we were there for an hour, just shooting the breeze. Her son was there. It was great to meet him.
Oh yeah,
it was really neat. I see the question there. I might have missed it. Is it a hardback? The neither for either. So the module is a soft cover. It's perfect bound. We didn't have a choice here just because of its size. So. And the rule books, we also just did perfect bound for those because we wanted to keep them cheap. So when the Kickstarter rule set comes on, they'll be hardcover books.
Nice.
They'll also be expanded. We've got ideas to add more. Like right now, like our rule system for Holmes, we still have only the 7 original character classes in there. We got the 4 human classes: the fighter, magic user, thief, cleric, and then we've got the elf, dwarf, halfling. And remember Holmes races class, guys.
Yep,
so,
races class.
Class.
That's where it came from. Yes.
Yeah. So we've kept all that the same, and in that, like I said, kind of we had to. Now we did introduce. I think in the appendix we actually have a paladin.
You do.
Yes. Okay. So we do. So Eric can tell you he's looking at it. So we did do the paladin because the paladin does appear in the Maze of Peril story, pretty prominently.
Okay.
Yes.
So he's one of the characters that goes through the dungeon. He's probably one of He kind of shows up in the second half of the book, but he's a main driver in it, and it's very different. So it's very fun. Guys, read Maze of Peril. It's just a blast, and you can read it.
It's like I said, if you want to know how D&D was in the 70s,
it's absolutely that.
Yeah, it's like absolutely you said it on a couple of sessions.
Yeah.
And it even divides like a couple of sessions. Like, okay, here's session 1, and then here's session 2. It actually does that, where you're like, okay.
Mike, the crazy thing is this is, I can't overstate this enough. Holmes was his forward-looking stuff. It's crazy when you see the way he writes about some characters. These are things that people are still doing today, and they think they're new. Like, the halfling Boinger, that name is appropriate, okay? And this was 1976-ish. So,
yeah.
And, he reminded me exactly of, and And I'm not going to remember the name of it, but it's the Critical Role animated series, whatever that was called. Right,
Oh,
they had the animated series on
yeah.
Prime on
the one that was
Amazon
on
Prime.
Amazon or something like that. Yeah.
They've got a gnome in there that's kind of like, his main job is chasing females.
Yeah, he's the scumbag.
That's
party
Boinger. Okay,
Yes.
that's Boinger. That character, we think whatever, but he had a halfling doing that in 1976. So this guy was way ahead of the curve.
Kim is correcting Mike that she actually started playing in '78.
And I told her that's impossible because she would have been 1 year old. There's no way
She was playing in the womb, sir.
No
she
way.
Was playing in the womb.
But yeah, so and by the way, Kim will be at North Texas also. Bill will be there. Eric will be there. So I mean, this is it's going to be old home week. We're all going to be there. And
I can't wait. I'm so excited. It's creeping up so fast.
Dude, 2 weeks from tonight, Eric and I will be doing a show in North Texas in a corner.
It's crazy. I know. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's
Bill will be joining us. Like everybody, Bill is.
I know someone. Yeah, I might be running the tournament depending what night you're doing it. So you guys know how freaking busy I am at this convention.
So Bill. So for those who don't know this either, Bill has run a tournament starting year 3.
Year 3, yeah. So this is the 13th annual tournament.
Yes, because we missed. Did you miss? We missed COVID year though.
We ran it. We ran it virtually.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So we
ran.
Perfect.
We used the Discord and we did the whole thing. We ran all our regular events.
So he runs a tournament that's very well attended. They give prizes out every year. So yeah, that's your tournament always fills up. Everybody wants to play in Bill's tournament, and for many years you ran it in the bar, which I thought's great because that's probably where
Wednesday night. Wednesday night's at the bar. Yeah,
is right in the bar. Yes.
Yeah, that group always had trouble winning, but that's okay. They had fun. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I'm fairly positive that it's actually right now it's the longest running classic D&D tournament in the country. I don't think anyone has one that's.
See, it would have been Gen Con, but Gen Con stopped doing those.
They stopped doing it, right?
Gen Con doesn't. Yeah,
they opened the door.
Stopped running tournaments. They don't run. Do they even run tournaments at all? They run 5e tournaments, maybe. I don't.
No, I think probably just run Adventures League stuff.
Wow.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't recall it even 10 years ago. I don't recall them running a tournament. So this is year 13 for us, and it's exciting. We're doing something crazy new concept too. Instead of there being one tournament adventure, there's 4, and they're all based around the lands around Keep the Borderlands. And the group actually, when you sit down, you get to pick one of the which of the ones.
You son of a bitch! You stole my B1 idea that I've been running for years.
I kind of did.
I mean, imitation is the best form of flattery, so I'm okay with that.
It's kind of like
I run 5 versions of B1.
So we're not. It's actually not 5 versions of B2. It takes place. There's we're working on a mini campaign for B2. And there's 4 geographic areas around the Keep of the Borderlands. So
you choose where? Okay, I got you.
Choose which geographic area you're going to go to, and it's a totally different.
Mine's B1. It's just each version has different encounters and monsters. So okay, yes. I'll allow
which is an amazing time. I played in Mike's game. It's brilliant.
we've had so much fun. Ben's played in the B1. Matter of fact, that needs to come back next year. Gary's maybe promised I will bring it back next year. It's tough because my grandson. Jake, who's helped me in every con that since he's been 4 years old, he's in the Air Force now, and he can't help me. So I was nervous, thinking, well, if I can't get anybody to cover my table Thursday, and so Gary was really mad I didn't run a game this year. But I am going to both David and I, because David Ray hasn't run a game in a couple of years either. He's like, look, you guys really need to run a game. This is not you guys. People want to play in your game, so I will try to bring back B1 next year, and that we had a blast.
I'll tell anyone out there if you can get in it, which is almost impossible, do it. I got in it 1 year; it was great.
We have a blast. It's an absolute freaking blast. So
it's gonna be
But like I said, the Bills tournament games. I guess you're probably. I'm sure you're full on all your.
It sells out in like 3 minutes. Yeah. Every year,
everybody wants to play in the new Pacesetter dungeons.
Yeah, we run 3 or 4 sessions depending on the year. This year I'm only doing 3. I'm just busy. But
let's gotta have a little time to hang out and do.
I run those 3, then I run that Saturday night game before the midnight auction every year. So that takes another night. And then we've got Friday Night Battletech, which is always a big deal.
Mhm.
I want to get in real quick because I just bounced back through real quick. If people are listening or whatever, and they don't want to miss this Holmes thing, the best way to do it is go to pacesettergames.com. We have a link at the top of the page. It's just like it's an email sign up. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's keep me updated kind of thing. Add yourself to our email list because we will send out a broadcast email. We send about one a month or so, but we'll send a special one out when this Holmes thing launches so you don't miss it. That's the best way not to miss it. We will post it on social media stuff and those kinds of things. Yeah. Go to pacesettergames.com and just sign up for our email list. We don't sell it to anyone. It's a totally kept in-house thing. Like I said, we usually do once a month. We do a really short kind of news blast of what's going on at Pacesetter, but we're also starting up a quarterly magazine. In July will be our first issue.
And for those who don't know, too, you're a regular feature on Luau Lou's show too, right?
Yeah, so I'm a guest host on This Old Dungeon, which is how one of the reasons that Chris and I kind of got together. We had him on the show, but there's three of us. There's Luau Lou, who is the ringmaster, Edwin Nagy, who you're obviously familiar with.
Oh yeah,
genius.
Mr. Nagy, yes.
Yep. And then they slum it down with me. Whenever I'm the guy when they need useless information from prior to 1985, I'm the go-to guy.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Lou's pretty good at old stuff. Edwin is not so much. He's more of a
Edwin is a pretty guy.
Yeah, so I'm the old. I think one of our emails called me the old gray wolf is what they described me as. So I'm not sure what that means.
Oh man,
but but it's a fun podcast. So we're different than you guys. We have a guest on every other episode. But what we do is we review an old school gaming product. It doesn't have to be a D&D module.
I love that. Yeah, I love that format.
Call of Cthulhu or Champ. We're doing Champions this. Yeah, we're doing Champions this month. It's gonna be exciting.
I need to pop in and watch that more than I do because that is exactly the kind of format I would. If I ran a show, I would do exactly what you guys do.
It's fun because what we do, and this was Lou's brainchild, 100%. And what we do is we kind of review this old product, right? This old adventure module, usually from some game system. And what we do is we each kind of what we call This Old Dungeon it. We take that old product, and usually it's a product that usually wasn't that great. We don't pick classics like Keep on the Board. Like
right.
we pick things out that probably weren't that great. People didn't really buy that much, that kind of thing. And we say, how do we revise this and make it better and use it in today's game? So that's kind of the concept of the show. It's a lot of fun. It really is. So we're going to do a Champions product coming up, but we've never done that. So I'm really excited because I'm a big Champions guy. It's I think the hero system, first couple editions is one of the best RPG character creation systems ever created, period. So I'm a little biased.
I was a Villains and Vigilantes guy. Sorry, Champions was too math oriented for me.
Another guy complaining about math.
Yes. Well, I mean, you and I. Well, I've complained about Top Secret too. Top Secret was you had to have a calculator at the table with you to play Top Secret. I'm not kidding. You did. You had to have
first edition Top Secret. You absolutely
IBM.
did.
Yeah, you had to have a little IBM because you're adding and subtracting all the stuff. And
to make it to hit roll in Top Secret First Edition was not an easy task.
No, no, you had to have all the negatives, all the positives, add them all. And I've got a silence. I've got a you're like, oh my.
And by the way, it was percentile based, right? So it was 0 to 100. So this was not like just 3D6 math.
No, and it was percentile based with dice that cracked the moment you rolled them for the first time. They marbleized and they weren't meant to.
Yes.
Low impact dice.
Oh my God.
Oh, those dice were the Top Secret dice are well known for
the first
games.
Yeah, the first printing box that you got the pink and the white die. Yeah.
Oh, actually,
the 20-sided, which was just 0 through 9 twice. That's another thing I love, we talk about old school stuff. People don't realize that a D20 back in the day wasn't numbered 1 through 20.
No.
You had no clue. It was
1
0
through 0.
through 9
Yeah,
twice.
Yep, 0
Yeah,
through 9.
generally
so you had to color one.
Yep.
Or if you're like my brother Robert, you didn't tell which color's high every time you roll. Oh, I hit. Wait a second. Hold on. That's the red one. Yeah, the red one's high. And like, no. You need
we use the D6. We use the D6 D20 combo method.
Oh,
so where 1 through 3 on the D6 was 0 through 0.
You should have done that because
and 4, 5, 6 is a 1
more than he should have.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember when I kind of came back into, because I had a lot of, I think people my age had that hiatus. And came back into D&D, and I was probably playing at your convention or some other one, and I'm rolling a D6 and a D20, and people are, you're rolling your damage at the same time?
What are you doing?
I'm rolling my damage. No, I'm rolling the hit. That's how we do it.
No, you're not. You're cheating. You're cheating. Damn it.
See, and the thing is, we got to keep stories like that alive because we're hitting 60, and these stories are going to be gone. These kids that started playing, second edition, they're not going to know what are you talking about?
No clue, right? Yeah.
Because you had by the second edition, you had kick-ass dice. You had dice that didn't fall apart, that would last forever. And so they don't understand these stories and they don't understand the story about how you were so freaked out you didn't want to get the version of the rule book that had the chits in it. Because there was a chit version because they ran out of dice at one point. They ran out of dice and they were using chits. And my God, you didn't want to accidentally buy the chits, so you shook the box before you bought it. Like, okay, there's dice in this one.
Well, that's the whole thing too, right? Like, back then in the late 70s, early 80s. Dice were worth their weight in gold. Mm-hmm. So
because you couldn't just go walk in a game store and buy them. No, you could not walk in a game store and buy them.
It was rare as hell.
Yeah. So if the game promised it came with dice, and you got it home, and there were no fucking dice in the box, you got pissed. And that's how, like when I got my Paranoia first edition, it promised dice. There were no dice. Now I would give a lot of credit to Pacesetter. I wrote my letter. They didn't send me fucking dice, so
the original Pacesetter,
not
the Bill Barsh Pace.
But I did get a letter from Ken Ralston in like that block matrix, which tells you the time.
Yeah,
this was in block matrix in character. He starts out like, "Listen, we really apologize," and in the middle, the computer breaks in, telling me that there's no way dice were admitted from my game box because that would be a failure on the part of the computer, and the computer will never fail. Turn myself in for termination. Right. So I still have that letter. God bless. I mean, I probably at the time would have preferred dice. Now I'm like, so I got this unique letter signed by Ken Ralston in character. I think it's priceless. But I swear. I mean, at the time I was like, I needed dice. I don't even know.
Well, if you read, I think it was I want to say it was John Peterson's book, Game Wizards. He talks a little bit about how there was a company that had a monopoly on the dice because they were the only ones that produced percentile dice for the game, and that was the same company that did it way back. They had the geometric dice. So these dice existed before D&D. They were geometric things. Well, they started doing it. Well, nobody else jumped up to do it, so that's why they would run out of dice sometimes because they would sell all the copies they had.
My recollection is those dice were created for teaching aids.
Right, they were. Yeah, they're for teaching.
So, and that's how TSR got their hands on them. But there was a time period, like you said, it was getting your hands on dice was really hard unless you went to I started going to my first convention was WinterCon 78, I think, and forget their year right. And, my mind was blown because I walked in and there was actually people selling dice or dealers. I want to say it was Game Science, I'm pretty sure.
How often did you we used to steal dice from Yahtzee games because remember Yahtzee had all this
everywhere. Everywhere you get a D6
that was the best thing ever, yeah.
But Game Science had all these cool new dice and they were clear and different colors and it was they had little plus signs on them so you could finally know what if you rolled a D20 if it was a 15
then
or a 5.
Zaki got into the game and he was selling his kick-ass, 100
Zaki, and then Chessex obviously jumped into the mix too.
But yeah, for a while it was a barren wasteland out there. It's just because in Texas the game revolution was way far away in the Midwest, and so we got kind of the dregs of everything. I mean, you were right where everything was happening, Bill, in Michigan.
We were
in
huge.
Texas, we didn't know what was going on. I mean,
People,
and so yeah, it was
yeah.
hard to get stuff. It was hard to get D&D games ever, but yeah, we didn't have. There was nobody that sold dice. I think probably till the 80s. About 81, you started seeing, like they would sell dice sets, like chess X sets. But before that, it was you kept rolling your dice as long as it rolled because it'd be chipped to pieces. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, my original home set dice are the D20s are round. Mm-hmm. Michigan's a strange story with that. The epicenter of the hobby was the Midwest for sure. Okay, it was absolutely the Midwest, and I believe California had a large group, but it was the Midwest. But Michigan was actually huge back then. I mean, even the biggest conventions in the country, the biggest was Gen Con, right? There. Gen Con and Origins, and then really Michigan and WinterCon were pretty much like 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5 as far as attendance wise. They were huge. TSR released their biggest products at Michigan almost every year.
Yeah, Michigan was gigantic, and you were big. I mean, you were a big Michigan guy right there. I mean,
I did a lot of stuff with Metro Detroit Gamers is who ran all that. So I did a lot with conventions back in the day. It was awesome. Are
they still around, or did they finally go?
So MDG's kind of around, but all the original guys are gone. So 2 of the original 3 guys have passed away. Only I believe Bill Summers is left. I think Paul Wood, I believe, passed away. Mike Bartnikowski died a few years back. But they kind of passed the torch along probably almost 20 years ago. And the group that runs it now, they don't do anything. I mean, they run a game night in the library once a year. It's not the MDG that.
Yeah, I've heard it's.
We had the Deck of Many Things magazine that we published every other month. We had 2 giant conventions. We ran Origins twice, once in Ann Arbor and once in downtown Detroit. I was the Saturday convention manager in the Detroit convention. So it was, I still have my book. I just saw it the other day. I have my convention book. It's literally a binder this thick with everything you need to know about what was going on at the convention and who was doing what. And it's a pretty cool item, actually.
I miss that in those days because you'd be flipping through a Dragon magazine, and we lived in Texas, so you're flipping through Dragon magazine, and you looked at all these cool conventions, and they were all in different parts of the country. Now, the one big thing we had was 1984 Origins was in Dallas.
Yeah, Origins 84.
Also, which started with the year I went to England, so I wasn't there for Origins. It was right in my backyard. But other than that, we had something called the Dallas Fantasy Fair every year, which was a comic book gaming convention. But we did not have. I mean, that's all I would do is flip through Dragon magazine. Go, man, look at all these kick-ass conventions. They're all up in Michigan and Minnesota and Wisconsin and all the heartland. There's all these conventions. Then there was a bunch on the West Coast too.
We had another big one in Ann Arbor called NovaCon every year. NovaCon ran for 30 years. It went forever.
Wow.
That was a well.
I just feel like I missed out on so much because
we used to travel too. As kids, we went to Baltimore to Origins there a few years. I think Towson State University in New Jersey, I believe we went one year. We used to travel a lot to go to conventions too. I was a big convention guy back in the day. And now I still am, but it's different. It's a lot different. So
we had AggieCon, which is in College Station. Of course, back in the 70s, 80s, there was nothing in College Station at all. I mean, it was just it was not. Now it's a big city. So we would go, and they also had a con called WarCon and AggieCon, and they were both run by a student group at the university, and that was very, very fun for a few years. Now, I believe at this point, AggieCon has become a costume anime con, so it's not a gaming con anymore. But that's probably where I first started finding my first old school, like, hey, I've never seen this before, Judges Guild stuff and things like that was AggieCon, and that was really the only con. AggieCon and WarCon were really the only 2 cons I went to that I can remember besides Dallas Fantasy Fair, because it just I just back then thinking about driving up to Gen Con or driving up to Michigan was just like that was a fantasy. It's a 2-day drive.
Right.
Yeah, especially in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. It's like I'm never going to do that. So
my first out-of-state convention, I was 16, and me and one of my best friends, we were both 16. We drove to Gen Con, and it was at University of Wisconsin Parkside. And we're 16 years old. It's 1980. Okay. We didn't have a hotel reservation because we couldn't because we were 16. We bought camping gear, stayed in a campground, and used the university showers every morning.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was a crazy time. Didn't know where we were going, right? Because just didn't really have a clue. Just said we're going to go to this convention because it looks awesome, and yeah, that was a fun time.
Damn, you guys went to more conventions than I ever did.
Well, we went to I think I went to 17 Gen Cons in a row after that.
Wow.
And at like 2 or 3 years later, our whole gaming group, 9-10 guys, we went every year for like 12 years. So every year more and more guys would go until about 3-4 years into it, I would say 84, 85 maybe, we had like 12 guys going. We had 3 or 4 cars going to Gen Con every year. It was great.
I went to a lot of.
It was a big scene, Eric. So it's just I just happened to be in the right place because it was a big thing back then. It was just what you did.
For me, I went to one convention at Columbia University. I went to Gen Con, I think, in '94, and then until I went to my first North Texas, that was my gap.
Wow,
it was like a 20-year gap.
Well, my big thing was once I really didn't go to a lot of cons until we went to John Law and I drove up to Gen Con in 2008, I believe, and then that because he'd always wanted to go. I was never going to go on my own. He basically made me go, which was awesome because I went back next year, and that got the fire in me again because I don't think I'd been to a game convention since Dallas Fantasy Fair went under in the mid '90s, and so I didn't go to conventions for a long time. Then that got me all excited. And then of course I started attending. When Game Hole Con started attending that, started attending Gary Con. So I had this whole second half, where I had the first half where I went to a lot of conventions younger, then probably through the 90s when I first got married and through about 2008, I just didn't do conventions at all. So probably about 10 years, or actually probably longer than that, more like 15, 20 years. And then all of a sudden, boom, I'm there. I want to go to conventions because there's all these cool guys that go. All the ACAM guys would go who I knew, and then all.
Well, I'm the same way, Mike. I got a huge gap from the somewhere in the early mid 90s until I think until 2009 when you guys did your first NTX. I think I might have went to one Gen Con for like a day just because I happened to be in Chicago or something. I drove up to a Milwaukee convention for a day. So I'm the same way. I have this huge gap where I didn't go to any. And I think that's what I can't stress enough too, is I know everyone probably already knows this in the chat, but if you've never been to NTX, you just have to go to North Texas. It is the closest thing to that old school game convention feel, run brilliantly, that you're going to find. And I'm not trying to slight Gary Con at all. Gary Con's a good old school convention, but it's different. It's a little different. It's NTX is just special that way. And then if you want to go to the most professional convention in the country, you need to go to Game Hole.
Yeah, because it's run
it's just a great convention.
It's run like a German clock factory. It's incredible.
Everything. I can't, Mike. I can't look. You got your vendor stuff goes smooth every year because of you guys been doing it, and it's.
Well, we only have 15 vendors too.
You don't have that many vendors. Yeah. It's the same kind of right.
Yeah.
Most of us, there's half of the vendors there. Just we don't even need to talk to you guys when we come in. We know what to do when we get there. Right. Game Hole they're organized. They're in contact. They let us know what's going on. It's it's just like you said. It's run like a German car. And for this is a large convention. It's not a small convention, and for them to have that amount of detail is fantastic.
That's all Alex's work. And by the way, I'll be there again this fall. Again, I'm bringing the wife this time, so it'll be fun. She's gonna be.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, it's funny.
She flew in for the week. She flew in for the weekend last year. We drove back, but she's actually going to come up with me the whole week this year. So that's going to be.
Well, fun. That's awesome, Jim. We hung out with Jim Kitchen a lot last year at Game Hall, and his wife had something going on, I think, in Milwaukee, and she came over for a day or two. So we went up to dinner with them, and she was lovely. Yeah. And I think more and more people are doing that. I know I'd love to get my wife to come, but she is.
Madison's a nice little city. We went last summer. My wife and I just drove up to Wisconsin in the summer because we were tired of the Texas heat. I mean, it was miserable. Yeah. And actually, it was very nice in Wisconsin. So we drove all around. I showed her all the spots, and we went down to Lake Geneva and this and that. But Madison's a really cool little town. If you're just
it really is
in town. I know Eric's wife hung out in Madison before, and
Yeah.
And she loves. Yeah,
We
it's a college town. It's a college town. Plus the capital's right there, so everything you can imagine. You know, places to eat, places to shop. It's all right there. So
we go downtown. We have two restaurants that Ben and I will go to no matter what every year at Gamehole. One's this small little Italian hole in the wall place that the Gamehole guys recommended, and the food's just absolutely killer. And it's a small place downtown, and we go there every year. And then and there's actually two other places that we kind of we mix every year, but we love going downtown. I mean, you know, you run that. The one thing about Gamehole is, you know, when you're a vendor there, it's a day, it's a long day, and we'll be done with our day. And it's like, okay, we're gonna go back to our room, clean up a little bit, and we're just gonna get away for a couple hours and then come back and hang out, you know, and do stuff. But it's nice because it is a great town to do that. It's easy to navigate.
And what's great now is that Alex has moved the dates up, because he used to have this end of October, beginning of November. You get some bad weather a few years, but now that he's moved it up before Halloween, the second or third week in October, the weather's been great the last couple of years. It's been awesome, because I remember going there a couple of years. It was 0 degrees, and I was like, oh,
snowed.
crap.
Snowed that one year. But last year was. You're right. This last year, oh my God, I was wearing shorts and t-shirts.
Great. It was beautiful, and so that's helped out a lot. I feel bad. I don't feel bad, but we're pimping Alex's convention here, and we should be pimping North Texas too. But
we will get.
No, Alex runs a great show, and
it's not a zero sum, Mike. It's not a zero.
No, if you're going to conventions, look, each convention exists for a different reason. They all do something different. I mean, Gary Con is great for what it is. You get to see all the fathers of the hobby, the entire Gygax. It's a Gygax family reunion that we get to.
You get to celebrate Gary's. You get to celebrate Gary's legacy, right?
And you're there in Lake Geneva, and you're there at the Playboy Club, the old Playboy Club. I mean, you get to see all the stuff. North Texas is 500 people, and it's in we're very spread out. There's rooms don't have more than 2 tables. It's just that's Doug's. It's basically Doug and I's vision of what we would like in a convention. So that's what North Texas is. We have about 40 special guests, so literally 10% of our people show up for special guests, because that's what we wanted. We wanted to have a lot of people there. We don't have VIP tickets. We don't have none of that stuff. You just come and everybody hangs out. And then Gamehole Con is like a regular convention should be. There's Magic tournaments. There's Ventures League. There's all the things you would expect out of any kind of convention. It's in a big convention center, and that's kind of what I remember. Dallas Fantasy Fair was just like Gamehole Con. It was the same way.
Gamehole Con's Gen Con from 1980. It really is. It's just it's amazing.
There you go. Yeah.
I want to echo something.
They're all different. They're all great. They're all good. They
recommend. I want to echo something that Tom said earlier too about Gen. He brought up Gen Con. He was a vendor there for actually quite a time. We were there for a couple of years vending. I think 3 years total, and I don't think I'll ever do it again. He's right. The demographic has radically changed. It's more of a trade show and a cosplay animated show now than it is anything else. And I'm not, and that's great for them. They bring 60,000 people down there to do that. It's awesome. But if you're an old school kind of gamer and just want to be a game,
not anymore.
It is not Gen Con. It's impossible to navigate. It's tremendously expensive. If you want a hotel within walking distance of the con, you're going to spend $1,200 to $1,500 for the weekend.
So the last year I went was either 2008, 2009, and the attendance was 29,000. So I thought it was pretty crowded, but we were able to get a hotel room within walking distance, or we were able to actually go to the convention. And now it's double that. And I've heard that it's just an act of God to even get in a hotel room.
It is, and you're gonna
in the city. I mean,
you're gonna pay through the nose. It's just
it's you got to park. You got to pay for parking, $50 a day to park. Well, actually, it was $50 a day back in 2009. No clue what it is now. It's probably something ridiculous. But it's a totally different show. There was a few cosplayers back in 2009, and there was everything just changed in the years after that, and I have no desire to go back. I'm glad
Origins is honestly. If you want that kind of big game convention experience, Origins is a much better choice. It's a much better
I'll probably
choice.
make it out there someday. Tom has promised to treat me well if I go out there, but I don't know if that means he's going to put me to work.
Well, I like it. I like Origin. Well, I can't go a lot of times to Origins because it's right around the same time as NTX. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
no
because
choice for me there.
by the way, they moved. We have always been the first week
I
in
know.
June. They were
So-
they were right around the end of summer, and they moved to the week after us, which is ridiculous.
The nice thing about Origins is my sister lives in Columbus, so I got a good connection down there. But we wouldn't. Me and Ben have gone. We usually stay at our own hotel, but it's nice to go visit them and all that. But Columbus is I hate even saying this out loud. Downtown Columbus is a nice town. It's hard for a Michigan guy to say that, okay? But downtown Columbus is a nice guy. It's a nice town. So they got some great restaurant stuff down there. But that convention still run pretty well. The shitty thing is they don't have an auction, and that's tough. That's really
auctions is great. Yeah, that's I mean, I wish North Texas had a bigger auction. We could. The problem with North Texas auctions, we only have about 40 to 50 items because we only have a certain amount of time, and it's all premium stuff. And I kind of like those auctions, just kind of ramble on. Hey, we got here's something good, here's something not that great. I wish our auction could be more like that. We have the silent auctions, which allow us
those
to
are awesome.
put a but I really like the old Gen Con auctions where you could just
Tom's
they
digging
went
himself
on
a hole
all
now.
day long. You just walked in and you didn't know what you were walking into. They could be auction dice or first edition modules or MERP stuff. I mean, you didn't know. You had no clue what you're walking into. I love that.
Yeah.
I used to love that stuff.
I love it too. And the problem with Origins is that I don't know if it's a Columbus rule or it's an Ohio rule. If you run an auction, you have to have a licensed auctioneer.
Yes, some states do that.
it.
Oklahoma does that too, by the way. I think Oklahoma or Glenn.
And I just really wish they would find a way around that rule or find a way to get a couple of their guys licensed so they can just do it. I mean,
I've heard conventions that got forced into doing that, Bill, and it never works out good because the auctioneers have no clue what they're auctioning because they're professional auctioneers.
I wouldn't bring professional in. I just wonder how hard it would be to license your own auction.
I think it's hard. Would it be I don't think it's that easy. I think they make it hard
because they've never done it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Michigan is a pimple. Oh, whoa! Come on now.
So Tullis has quickly decided that any nice thing I might have said about them, I'm going to retract.
Mm-hmm.
There you
go. That's his game plan. So, I'm not shocked. So we talked about the everything going on here. Let's. I know Bill Barsh is going to give us an unvarnished opinion here. So tell us what your opinion is of the year of WotC. The year of WotC, because we haven't had you on the show, I don't think, this year, and you've seen everything happen. You've watched the show. I hope you've watched the show and seen us talk about
it.
I
watch it.
What the hell is going on?
I don't necessarily watch it all live, but I do watch every show. I don't know, Mike.
Well, what is your opinion? What the hell is going on with these guys?
I think it's a bunch of bad hires. I think what happened with WotC is I think that company got infiltrated by activists to a large degree, and they're everywhere. They're not just, it's not one or two people. Okay. Anyone who tells you, oh, it's one or two guys, whatever. It's not that. At some point, and a lot of corporations in America have done this. They've decided to let they're trying to appease to too many people, and they direct their human resources departments to hire a certain demographic or whatever. And then people start hiring people who are like them. Okay. That's normal, right? I mean, that's all companies do that. It's you hire what you know and who you know. Well, if you start getting a whole bunch of people in your company that have a certain viewpoint, they're going to start hiring other people who have the same viewpoint as them. And the next thing you know, the culture of your company has changed a lot. And with WotC, I think that's exactly what's happened. And then at the top of WotC, they got these people who aren't even gamers. They're just, you don't have to be a gamer necessarily, but these people have no clue, right? They're just business people.
Yeah.
So they let the lower guys run things the way they feel they should run it. I mean, the people down the chain, you hire competent people to do that job. But I think with WotC, it just goes, it's more insidious than that. I think their creative department is loaded with people who have agendas instead of want to just put out great gaming material. I mean, how more can we get more evident in the last 2 years out of WotC? I mean, how do you
just garbage after garbage? The stuff they release is, and that's why they were so scared. I think wanting to get rid of the OGL because all this third party stuff and the number
Yes.
one on the with a bullet is Shadow Dark. All
Yep.
this third party stuff was better than anything they've
Oh, yeah.
come up with in the last 2 years. Anything.
100%.
And so they freaked them out because and instead of saying let's hire better writers and creators and get some good stuff out there, they wanted to shut it down. Well, let's just shut these guys down because if they only have to buy us from us, then they'll have to buy our stuff.
They can't because they filled their departments with activists. I don't care what kind of activist, I don't care what side you're on, but when you bring people in and your culture, your company changes the way WotC has, where doing things that you think are modern sensibilities, whatever that might be, are more important than your product, or that's going to be the driving force of your product, you've made a big mistake. Your product is number one, period, and every resource you have should go into making the best product you can. It should be innovative all the time. You should be constantly thinking to innovate, instead of going backwards. Yeah, that whole Magic the Gathering Pinkerton thing. Oh my God. I don't even know how much of this is Hasbro, to be honest with you. I honestly think the rotten of the core starts at WotC. And I don't understand how they can't get their shit together.
Here's the thing, though, with the Pinkertons, head of internal security at WotC and the corresponding position at Hasbro are both former Pinkerton Express.
Of course. Well, that's where the connection is.
It's like, oh, let's go with what we already know. These are my friends, so yeah.
Right. I understand that's where the connection is. I get that part. I don't understand. Again, where in the hell are the adults in the room? My God, when these decisions are made, you usually bounce these things off other people. But no one, they've hired a culture of people in there that is either too afraid. The ones that might want to do the right thing, they're too afraid to say it because of any kind of blowback they might get. And then the activists, they don't care. They don't care. They don't care about the hobby. They don't care about the betterment of the game. All they care about is pushing their cultural agenda.
This is what happened in Anheuser-Busch when you don't understand your audience. So they have a beer that's drank by frat boys, by people on a budget, by sports people. Nobody that likes beer drinks a shitty beer. It's shitty beer. Anheuser-Busch puts out shitty beer. So it's sold to these certain people, shitty people, and then they bring somebody in. They go, we're going to try to get this audience that has nothing to do with people who buy our beer. It has absolutely no connection with people who buy our beer. That is basic not knowing your product. And this is what I think is going on with WotC too. They don't have a clue who's playing their game anymore. I don't think they have a clue. They don't know who's playing their game. And so, like you said, they're marketing to themselves. They're marketing to people like them because they say, well, this is what I would like. Well, that's not who's buying your game anymore. And you don't understand that.
Well, they don't have any. They have no connection to anything. I mean, WotC never goes to game conventions. If they do, they send some creative
they're going to Game Hole this year. They are.
Well, they're finally going. Yeah, they're finally going to this year because
special guests at Game Hole
fucked up so badly.
There's about like nearly I don't know 8 or 9 that are coming from WotC. Most of them names that I don't.
I'm talking about having a presence. Forget just sending special guests.
Yeah,
that's all great. But most of the time, these special guests, I'll just hang out with other special people, and they don't talk to anyone.
Especially at non-North Texas cons. You're right.
That's North Texas is a different animal. Okay, I sit down and have coffee and have breakfast with Dennis Astaire once a year. Thank God he's coming back because we always. I'm one of those guys who gets up at the crack ass of dawn and I'm gonna tell you right now. If you want to run into a special guest and not have any competition, get up at 6 a.m. at North Tex. You're going to have Zeb Cook, Dennis Astaire, and sometimes Steve Winter are up super, super early.
Yeah,
and you can go have breakfast with them. I do it all the time.
It's great. Yeah,
but you can do that there. These WotC people, that's a different thing. I'm talking about having a presence as a company. I mean, you show up, you set up a giant vendor display like TSR used to do, and you're there running demos and you're talking to people who are buying your games.
Right.
So it's not celebrity on celebrity is worthless. It's not going to get you what you need. I'm sorry. Having your WotC creatives show up and talk to influencers is not going to, that is not the demographic. But that's what they
know. So I mean, going back to Anheuser-Busch, that when this project they had absolutely cratered, and now their stock's down 30% and this and that.
Well,
all the bigwigs are like, oh, we didn't know this was happening. That's bullshit. You have control of your company. That they threw the whatever person under the bus. They threw a couple people under the bus, but that's garbage. This does not get decided in a vacuum. And I think the same thing is going on with WotC. This is not a vacuum.
Here's the thing with WotC though. When somebody fucks up at WotC, you don't find out who it is.
No, they blame an intern. It's an intern. Oh my gosh, this intern did this. Oh my god, I can't believe this intern.
Who wrote the OGL 1.1?
They said it was an intern, which is garbage. They said it was an intern. That's
bullshit. Absolute bullshit. What was that guy's name who came out and did all the
Kyle Brink?
Kyle Brink, yes.
Kyle Brink.
Yeah.
All you have to do is listen to that guy a little bit. He will tell you exactly who he is.
Oh yeah.
And who the people like him at WotC are. If you listen hard enough, he's telling you. People got all crazy about that. Oh, the hobby, all those, he can't wait for all those old white guys or whatever to get out of the hobby, whatever.
Yes.
We're all insulted by that. So we all get pissed off by that kind of thing. But you really need to listen. Go back and watch that video and watch his next 2 or 3 sentences. He says shit that's way worse than that.
Yeah,
way worse than that. They're telling you who they are and what they're going to do.
Yeah. If I'm gonna gaslight my community, this is the avatar I got to turn on.
Oh man, you freaked me out with that.
If
I thought we got hacked.
You need Kyle Brink to lie to you, sorry, misstate the truth, not actually lying. This is how you do it.
God, you're freaking me out.
Yeah, that needs to go away.
Kim said something earlier. I want to come back to you real quick. Her son works for EA, and I am a huge Madden fan. I have been buying Madden for 20 years, and she's absolutely right. The same thing going on in the culture there is going on at EA. EA puts out a shitty product now. They used to have a great product. They don't innovate every year. What they care about is their online play leagues where you pay to play. You pay to play. You pay to get better. You buy packs.
Easy money.
Players. I usually, when I buy Madden, I play with friends or I play franchise mode, which is you're just playing against a computer. It has not improved in 5 or 6 years. They do not improve that game every year. They're so busy trying to make money online. And I feel bad for her son because he's probably having to deal with that shit. But the EA is in the same boat where they're putting out a shitty product now because they're not doing what their core audience wants them to do. They're doing these money-making grabs. I don't know that WotC is doing a money-making grab because I don't think they're making any freaking money. But they're definitely not putting out the product that everybody wants to see.
I think like Anheuser-Busch, Mike, I don't think it's not understanding their audience. I think they absolutely know exactly who their audience is. But for some bizarre reason, somebody walks into an office and convinces them, hey, you know these 3 million people who religiously buy our beer? Let's forget about them. Because we've got this 1.0 or this 0.0000001% of America over here with this cultural thing going on. If we move something in their direction, we're gonna attract that audience.
Yeah, we'll get 90
because they're
not going to
want to get this influence on board. People don't buy their beer. Don't care about influencers.
You pissed off 3 million, 5 million, 10 million, however many people who pretty much without thinking walk into a grocery store and grab your 12-pack of Bud Light because that's just who they are. Now you just insulted the shit up. And it's not just the act of what they did, right? This was mostly what they did afterwards when they came out. Like you said, they called everyone frat boys and this, that, and the other. It wasn't even the initial action. It was how they dealt with it afterwards. They just pissed off the world. This thing's going to be worse than that. And how to screw up your company.
Oh, it's going to be called marketing class for decades. Yes. But it's even worse than that because LGBTQ bars won't carry Bud Light.
They're all pissed off at them. Yeah,
because they're off it because they're pissed off that they didn't get backed up by. Because afterwards, what did Anheuser-Busch come out and do? They came out and disavowed all the. Oh, this is terrible. Yeah, we didn't mean to do this. Well, that's going to piss off the LGBTQ. I mean, they absolutely just bombed everything. They just dropped an atom bomb on their entire brand, destroyed it, and then probably
you better be careful who you get in bed with from a marketing standpoint. You really need to be careful.
You got to know. You have to know your audience, and that's what
I think someone posted something about this ESG score thing that goes around. It's a big deal behind the scenes, but for some reason, companies have decided that they need to all of a sudden get involved in the culture wars or whatever the things going on in society. Why? There's no reason.
Stick to your audience. Sell to your audience.
Stick to your product. Make a good product. Innovate and make great commercials, and you'll be fine. You'll sell plenty of product. I mean, look at what Disney did with their debacle down there in Florida. Why the hell would they do that? It was the stupidest thing you could possibly do. They had no business getting involved in that. In local politics, it wasn't even big politics. It was local politics. Stay the F out. But no, they stepped in it, and now they pissed people off, and now they're going to pay. And the funny thing is, here's the most hilarious thing in the world, like with the whole Disney thing, right? So with Disney, they basically are the only company in America that was allowed to form its own government. Okay. They could print money. They could print their own money. Nobody else in America could ever do that. That was the power given to Disney when they moved to Florida. Florida handed them the baby in the bathtub, everything, right?
Yeah.
So you got this corporation that is the only one in America that has formed its own government called Reedy Creek Development Authority. But anyway, and I know I'm getting way off in the weeds here, but
we always do.
So that's fine. It's actually it worked. Nobody really cared. Disney brought so much money to Florida. Everyone's just like, whatever, let's let it go. Well, now they step into this thing, and Florida says, well, okay, now if you're going to start stepping into all of our local stuff, F you, your government authority is going, your ability to self-govern, that's going bye-bye. Right. Nobody else in America is allowed to do that. You're not going to do it too. The hilarious thing is the people who hate corporations now love Disney.
Of course.
Right.
They would never tolerate Marlboro being able to form its own government, or Colt, or Anheuser, or anybody else. They would no one in America would ever tolerate that. But just because Disney says something cultural that you culturally like, now you're going to like them. It's insane.
Well, so we're bringing that around to gaming. Watsy, the last couple of years, they made all these just absolutely ridiculous cultural arguments, like, orcs are really black people. We've known this all along, and people like us are sitting there going, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And so they've been trying to get in these culture wars when, once again, their players, core players, even people that grew up on 5e don't care about this stuff. I don't know one single player, old school or 5e, that has ever said that was a really good move when they came out and compared orcs to black people. That was great. Nobody thought that was a good move. That was just head scratching. And they've done that kind of thing over and over again in the last couple of years. They're trying to get involved in culture wars that they don't need to get involved in, because nobody cares. Everybody wants to sit down at the table and play their own game. If I want to play a game and I want to have an LGBTQ bar in my game, you know what? Nobody can stop me. You can't stop me, Bill. Eric, you can't stop me. Watson can't stop me. I can do whatever I want in my game. And that's what I don't think they understand, is that people are going to play their game no matter what they do.
Public relations rule number 1, never create your own problem. Never do it. Just don't get involved in things that don't have.
But yet everybody's doing it in the last 5 or 6 years. That's all they could do. They keep.
Here's the thing with Watsy, and what this is the part that really annoys me, is, and they can say, well, we're doing this because we mean to do right, but they always do it in the most fucking lazy ass way. It really is, as Mike calls it. It's just like a performance. Like, we're going to show you what we mean well, but we're not going to put the effort into it. Like the legacy disclaimer, which, by the way, my good friend Tyson.
Yeah.
All right.
That's where you get the hard-hitting reporting.
I know you watch all my videos, sir. So just making sure you understand where this is coming from. My problem isn't with Watsy saying, hey, we have product that didn't age well. That's fine. You don't label everything printed, 5 years prior.
Because they're lazy, Eric. They're
lazy.
No,
they won't go through your work and say, oh, wow, this one has a bad depiction.
What was the cover? What was the module? The X8 or 9 that has the green orcs with the afros, and that's it's just not a good look. What am I?
It's Drums on Fire Mountain.
Yeah. Okay. Why don't you come out and say that's what you need to put a disclaimer on and say, look, this was made at a different time, blah, 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 whatever. You don't blanket put it on everything that was published before 1986. That's what's ridiculous. Is you
Right.
need to pick out. It's like when Eric has this war now against the word problematic, which I'm all on board for, because it doesn't mean anything, because it's just used as this is something bad. Well, it's the
It's a
same thing when you
catch-all.
say, when you put on there and say everything before 1986, whatever, is
That
problematic.
Mike,
What? I want to know. I want to know
it's like
what's
before
problematic
1986.
about B1. What's
It's like
problematic about
everything before
Ravenloft? Well, Ravenloft has
2006.
gypsies, so I guess that's
Anything,
problematic.
So
anything from the TSR era and before, and actually early Wizards of the Coast stuff, is labeled as such if you buy stuff on drive-through. If you buy the PDF or you get
Yep.
something that's print on demand, and that's pure laziness. Go through your own fucking material, your own
All
copyrighted
three of
work,
us,
and
we
figure
could
out
read
what's
through.
offensive.
We could read through everything TSR wrote, till 1986. They could pay us $1,000 each, whatever, and we could probably find some problematic things. I mean, I know Ravenloft has gypsies. Like I said, the drums and firearm that covers a little, but we could find stuff if you took the time to actually pay somebody to do it and go through the modules. You could find things that are probably offensive, but to label everything offensive is ludicrous. It's the laziest shit I've ever seen in my life.
It's lazy, like you said, Mike, but it goes into a lot of things like, who really cares? They're creating this, and they're telling us that we should care. I don't care. I don't care what your opinion is.
How bad is it
90%
really? I mean,
of anything. Make a good product.
Show me the module where a female NPC is stripped, raped, and tortured. That doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. And so the stuff they're saying is problematic is mildly problematic, and a lot of it has to do with the era it was written in.
It's completely ancillary to the product.
Exactly.
I'm probably one of the only people on the planet. I have TSR's module design guidelines. I have the printed on a dot matrix printer. It's about 80 pages long of how they design their modules, what the content should look like, what should go in it, what the rules are. I'm probably the only person on the planet that actually owns that still. Okay. I have it from when I did something for them way, way back. Right. I think I brought it to NTX one year to show Mineheart. So it is spelled out in there. They specifically spelled, there's going to be no drug use. There's going to be no sex. There's going to be no naked people. We're going to keep alcohol stuff down to a minimum. Their modules were designed to be essentially rated PG to PG-13. If anything slipped by, it was simply something that was contextual to that day and age that nobody thought was a big deal.
Look at the
and
one
it certainly wasn't anything that was
look at Orange
offensive on purpose. Okay,
Orange B3 was pulled because of artwork, and that artwork considered questionable. It's not that bad. It's
the Orange B3.
But at the time it's like, oh yeah, we can't. So that's how strict they were. That artwork, which by the way wasn't that bad.
Well,
it's cool because they're so
scary. So I mean,
I know that's true,
and that was the big problem.
That was kind of funny, but
it wasn't just deprecating. It had some other issues, but even like you said, Mike, there was nothing that offensive or really that bad. And again, this is a company. Why is Wizards doing this, right? Why are they constantly going back or looking forward and having to bring out this culture war shit? There's no need for them to do this. There isn't. I don't know who they're trying to.
Well, they had to lie with. They had to lie about their Spelljammer set because when they got in trouble for having flying monkey slaves, they tried to throw Steve Winter into the bus, and he had to come out and one of his rare, posts about political stuff. He said, "Look, or not really political, but he just said I didn't create the Hadazee. That I created the Gazarian for Star Frontiers." And they turned that into the Hadazee, which wasn't even me. I had nothing to do with that. So because they were trying to throw him under the bus, said, well, the original creators made this slave race of monkeys. He's like, no, that's not their origins. You did that. Somebody along the line did that. I never did that. But that's part of their whole laziness of not even bothering to look and see who actually created
Joe Carter has a great point here. And he's talking about there was like the RC had a bunch of inclusive artwork in it. It's very incredibly true. So did stuff prior to that. D&D was, as far as art-wise, was an incredibly inclusive game. If you think about it now, nobody looked at it in those terms back then. They just said, "Hey, this is cool. This goes through this." So, but there was tons of that inclusivity, I guess, if you want to call it that, unintentional inclusivity, in the 70s and 80s. But the issue with Wizards is is they want to virtue signal like they're the first ones to ever do that, right?
Yeah.
Look at us, we're so great. It's total bullshit. It really is. People have been putting women and minorities and everything else in products for forever, and
Look how many covers of old school modules have a female fighter,
tons.
mage, cleric, on the cover. And do we think about anything that when we were kids and we were like, oh, whoa, that's, hey, I'm not buying this now. No, it wasn't even a big deal at all. Nobody thought
Hell
anything
no.
about it. And so, yeah, that's weird that all of a sudden they're taking the credit for this and that when that started way back in the 70s and 80s. I mean, I don't remember one single party illustrated on a cover of module that was all male, or all just one race. I mean, it just didn't happen like that. And so, as a matter of fact, one of my favorite illustrations is the dwarf in the A series. Do you remember the dwarven
Female
fighter
dwarf?
was a female with a beard, bearded female, and that was on the cover of A1. So I mean, come on now, that this has been going on for a long time, and they think that we're probably the first people that ever. No, you didn't. No, you weren't. You weren't the first people who did anything. So stop trying to take credit for what you're for.
Well, so anyway, what's going on at Wizards is I think there's a cultural problem there. I think they've brought in way too many people, and I'm not saying you shouldn't diversify your staff. There's always good and bad to all of that. And especially, I've got a lot of experience with larger corporations from in the construction world. Okay. So that's not a bad thing on its face, but it's a bad thing when you decide that you have to do things like that to fill and check boxes instead of getting the best people necessarily to do what you need to do. And I don't, to me, this is not a left or a right thing. It doesn't matter. You can be too far one way or the other. It worked. That door swings both ways. Okay. But with WotC, they have brought in they've created a culture at that company that if anything's problematic for them, it's that, and it's already cost them. You're right. Look at Shadow Dark. It's absolutely going to take market share from them. I can tell you right now, 5e and this new version that got coming out, it might take off and blow up and be bigger than 5e. I don't know. I just don't know. I'm not that tapped into it, but there's a good chance it won't, because I can tell you right now, there is a lot of people moving away from the 5e space. And this is, I know it's anecdotal, but if you go on eBay,
Bill,
go on eBay, go on RPG auctions, look at how
go on Kickstarter, go on Kickstarter and see the latest 5e Kickstarters. They're down. They're way down. There's a reason Frog God Games has not put out one 5e Kickstarter this year.
We canceled ours, Mike.
I know you did, exactly, because it's not that and the thing is, 5e didn't do anything wrong. I always say that. This is WotC, but they're taking it out on 5e because that's who they can take it out on.
100%.
That's why games like OSC, games 100%. Like Shadow Dark, probably when Tales of the Valiant comes out, these are all going to be popular because they're seen as not WotC. And people are voting with their checkbooks. They're saying, boy, that makes me right. Checkbook. They're voting with their PayPal accounts. I don't know, whatever. They're voting with their virtual cards.
There's lots of reasons for it, but I think, none of us are there. We don't know for sure. All we can do is kind of guess, but I think most of our guesses here have been pretty spot on. I think it's a company that has, that's got a culture problem. Obviously they don't think they have a culture problem, but I think I think looking at it from afar, if they don't make some changes and decide they want to be a company for everyone, because they're certainly not right now. They're building a product that is not for everyone. And
and then they're going to face
next year, a brand that's not.
Well, next year they're going to release not 6.0, not 5.5, not 5.25, whatever. And my theory is that people are already sitting with their 5e books going, if they're not going to actually do something of enormously innovative, why would you buy the new 5.15, whatever it's going to be? Just stay with your books and you'll be fine. I just think they're going to have a real problem with market share next year. Look, as somebody that puts out 5e product yourself and whatever, I'd rather if you had a choice between put something out for Shadow Dark or 5e, I'd go Shadow Dark right now. Every time.
Probably.
I would say I'll just or even I haven't even seen Tales of the Valiant, and I would say I'll put Tales of the Valiant out before 5e because 5e has such a stink.
I tell you right now, we won't. We pulled the plug on our 5e product. That was now. Yeah. There were probably other reasons to that too. We already know that
sure
this was a perfect storm of bad timing for us. But we know that the 5e blowback was part of it for sure. Mm-hmm. And right now, are we going to put another 5e Kickstarter out in 2023? It is highly unlikely. We've basically said, okay, we've got some other things that we're moving around, and we just fast forward. We're putting out some solo adventure compilation plus a new one, a brand new solo adventure that's coming out kickstarting right after NTX, and then we're doing Gamma X, which is a whole new.
Oh thing. Yeah.
So we're really excited about that, and then we talked about we're coming up ready to do Endless Encounters, the next iteration of that, but we may hold it off because
two of our
that was 5e MPX, but I don't know if the 5e is going to work on it. So we're actually we've signed up with Goodman, so we're going to do a Goodman project coming up, and I think we're going to move that up. That's going to be our late fall project. Is
Goodman was smart.
TCC RPG.
TCC was a smart move on Joe's part. But see, Joe got burned on 4E, so he realized, I need to make my own system. And I'm gonna plug real quick the latest Frog God release, Tome of Horrors, came out today, and it's already funded, already double funded, whatever you call it. But it's going to have all new all these monsters that we created for 5E and the old Tome of Horrors Swords Wizardry are all updated for OSE.
For OSE, yeah, I saw it.
Monsters, go ahead and grab it, and so that's what we're doing now. We're not doing 5e, we're doing OSE. Because look, it's funded in not even 24 hours. It's 200%. So and I have, I'm like you, Bill. I've heard anecdotally people who have done 5e have complained about it on the designer pages I'm on Facebook and stuff like that. They said, look, don't do 5e. 5e is not doing very well right now, and they have numbers to prove it. And they can show you that. Look, I made this much last year when I did a monster book, and this year I made half that. And that's just telling you right now that people are just not.
When Wizards actually admits that they screwed up the formula for challenge level intentionally to give third-party publishers improper.
That was mind-blowing. And we knew that at Frog God, by the way. We knew that because people that are at Frog God that know 5e never could figure out the CR. We're talking some smart people there. Michael Gross and Nagy and Ken Spencer, all these guys this doesn't work. This CR
it doesn't work. We never even used it for any of our 5e stuff.
They knew that. We knew it was something wrong with it. And that was amazing that they just that's true. Yeah, we effed up CR. We didn't want anybody else to put out product that made any sense. That's just who does that,
though, right? Just keep coming.
That is on. Yeah, so on par. Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, it's going to be. I don't think none of us expected this for 2023, but 2023 is going to be different. Mm-hmm. You just have to pivot. I mean, that's what we're doing here at Pacesetter. I mean, we're going to pivot and do something a little bit different, and we look at it as opportunities to do things that we had plotted out down the road. Sure. Now it's unfortunate because I think we had some truly great products that would go. We're going to redo the Blood Cult for 5e and BX. Well, we're not doing that right now. That's for sure. We're going to have to do that with something else in BX. But we're going to pretty much stick with that too. I mean, we've been probably the largest producer of BX products in the last, a long time. And we're going to continue to do that. But like I said,
nothing wrong with BX, baby. BX
nothing wrong with BX.
Tom and I love it too, and so
we're
experts, awesome. BX.
We're and like so, we're working with Goodman. I've been talking to Joe for years. We put out a product for them 10 years ago. Put a module out for DCC, and we've been talking for years. I've been like, we really want to get back to it. We just haven't had the time, but this worked out well. So we're moving into that space, back into the DCC space. And we're going to do Gamma X. We hope it's successful. I mean,
looking forward to Gamma X. That's going to be great.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. It's we've put a lot of work into it, a lot of time. So we're really excited about that. And But
Now,
that's
does that
just
use the
I think that's what
OGL, or
publishers-
is that Creative Commons or OGL?
We're still using OGL for everything. So, and we have reasons for that. And, honestly, the only people who should care about the OGL at this point are the actual publishers. The end user doesn't affect them any way, shape, or form. The customer doesn't.
Right.
It's zero. For us, we're sticking with OGL for the time being because I know we don't have to. I know you can just do Creative Commons and go that route and say, okay, and get out of that altogether. But the OGL does offer us. We look at it. The OGL offers us some protections that Creative Commons does not offer us at all. So there's reasons we're sticking with the OGL for now. And 100%, that doesn't mean we have any support for WotC whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
WotC tried to put all of us out of business.
Yes.
The OGL's got really, honestly,
people forget about that. Yes,
it's existential what that has to do with WotC at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, and are they going to get rid of are they going to try and get rid of it again at some point down the road? They may or may not. I don't really care. When it comes time and that happens, then we'll pivot to something else, or we'll keep using it because I don't think they actually can.
I think what they'll end up doing is they're going to. I think they're going to ignore it, Bill. I think this point,
do too. I think
enough people have switched to Creative Commons.
I don't think they want to step. Like, they don't want to step on that landmine again.
No,
that was a mistake. It was a monumental mistake. I don't think they're going to mess with it. But for us, the OGL works for us. Again, it provides us some protections for our IP, the way we look at it. So where Creative Commons does not at all. But you have to use, company has to use what they feel is best for them, right? And
sure.
And we feel right now that that's still best for us. That doesn't mean next year we'll change our mind and go in another direction.
That's the great thing about a small company. You can pivot very quickly. And that's one thing that the last few months have shown us about these smaller companies obviously Frog God and Pacesetter and all these companies is it's very easy to pivot when you're that small a company. You just, okay, we're just doing this now.
It wasn't any fun. I'll tell you right now. I'm sure it was fun for you guys because I'm sure you got a bunch of money into stuff.
No, Zach had some sleepless nights. Yeah, Zach had 2 weeks of hell. He told me about it. I mean, just because what are we going to do? Everything that our whole company's built on this, ideal. Then now we're going to have to change. Right. But to the credit of all these smaller companies, is things pivoted really quick. I mean, Wolfgang came out really quick and said, okay, I'm going to do a Creative Commons version of 5e. And then everybody else started coming with their versions. And then, we had our best first quarter in history for Frog God Game because everybody's like, oh, I better buy, all this stuff before it goes out of business. And then, then these Kickstarters started coming along. I mean, Matt Finch's Swords of Wizardry made 100,000. Kelsey's Shadow Dark made 1.3 million. And then last year, of course, OSE made 700,000. I mean, these companies benefited by this idiocy on WotC's part.
Kelsey's timing couldn't have been better, right? I mean, that's not a knock on anything. It's a cool game. It's a great little product for sure. She hit the market, and that just shows how smart she is and business savvy she is. And she also put out a cool product. You do all those things, you're going to do well. OSC I think is a little of a different animal. I mean, OSC to me, we got to remember OSC is not something new. They had run 2 or 3, maybe even 4 Kickstarters. First they were BX Essentials, they were that. Then they ran 2 Kickstarters of that, another one, and then they hit that. I think somehow, some way, OSC caught lightning in a bottle. Now I understand it was during COVID, right? So that helped them for sure.
Yeah, it didn't hurt.
It's a cool product. Again, you're not going to be successful if you don't have a good product, and it's a good product. But they caught lightning in a bottle. I think Shadow Dark and OC are a little bit different from each other in certain ways in how they were successful.
But Bill, I've noticed one thing about their core audience, both products, is that a lot of their audience, probably half or more, are disaffected 5e players. Like if you go to the OSE boards, half of the OSE boards are people our age, and the other half are people that never played anything before 5e, and they just think OSE is cool because it's a stripped down version of 5e. And if you go to Shadow Dark, it's the same way. You go to the Shadow Dark boards, it's a lot of people like, hey, I like old school playing, but a lot of them never played anything but 5e. They think it's really cool that I can't see in the dark, and you could die really easy, this and that. So I think they're drawing from the audiences of disaffected 5e players that played 5e for 8 years now.
I agree. I agree, and they're
ready to try
loyal.
something different. They want to try something different, you know.
I agree. Like I can tell you right now, like OSE's audience, that's a tight group. They have the OSE fans are OSE fans for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I think they're more necrotic gnome fans. I mean, they're very loyal to their brand and that thing.
DCC's the same way though, Bill. I mean, DCC has
same way, exactly same way.
extremely loyal audience that loves DCC. They love it.
You get that by putting out a good product,
right,
and just doing things the right way. I mean, when do you hear those companies getting involved in bullshit? Never.
You don't. Yes,
you don't, because you're not dumb. So, yeah. I mean, so I'm super excited to meet Kelsey down in Texas. I'm sure, hopefully get a chance. I mean,
this is awesome.
The great thing, pivoting back to NTX, is you've got, I believe, I thought the number was 20. How many special guests do you have this year?
We have almost
I should
40.
know the exact number.
We have almost 40. It's so many.
It's a lot.
Almost 4. It's a lot. Yes,
so I was fortunate enough, Gary. Me and Gary talked this year, and I think I asked last fall. I said, "Hey, you guys are you going to get back to doing a physical program?" And we talked, and
we should talk about that for a second. That's awesome. That Pacesetter is doing our program this year.
Yeah,
which is
I wrote myself into it. It was brilliant.
You did, because you're an idiot. Let me guess. You did this on the way to LongCon. You were in the car with Gary, and you started talking about programs. I bet you anything.
I think we probably did. Yeah. Yes, I think it kind of came from there,
and then you just came from there. Yeah.
But it was a lot. It was a lot of fun. It was hectic. It was a short time span, but
we appreciate it. That is an amazing thing for you.
Well, don't say that until you actually read all the quotes.
No, I don't care. Look,
I had some dumb idea that I would let people post quotes on Facebook, and I would put them in the book. So
how'd that work out?
You're gonna get some fun stuff.
Oh boy,
I just put it right in there, including your brother. So there it is.
Okay.
Oh boy, was he wearing pants?
Who cares? But as long as there's no pictures of him. No, that was so. Doug was committed to do these little digest programs.
There are pictures in it.
Up until when he passed away, he was still doing these really. I mean, they got terrible. They were just terrible because we're old. Okay, we're old. We can't see things, and he was squeezing this little program to these digests because that's all he knew how to do. And that was something that I would have loved to have done years ago. So we didn't have a program the last 2 or 3 years because Doug did not feel like doing them, and he was not comfortable with a regular, awesome, kick-ass, regular-sized program. And that's one of the things that Gary and I immediately we said, yes, we want a program, and we want one that people can read. We want a real regular program that other conventions put out. So we really appreciate you helping with that, and that is awesome that you're doing that because
it was like I said, it was challenging. It was fun. I'm excited to do it again next year because it's for the first time you ever do something. I came up with more ideas than I had time to implement, honestly. So there are pictures in it, by the way. So don't get. You'll be surprised. So I pulled a bunch of pictures from the first NTX.
Oh boy! Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it was
very
fun.
cool. Well, it's our 15th anniversary. This is our 15th anniversary.
Yeah,
so
I thought it
is an anniversary, so that's cool.
Yeah,
that's great.
But so anyway, it was fun, and I love a good convention program myself. I like, and it's not digest size, people. It's 8.5 by 11, so it's full size. It's the print's large enough for all of us to read, all of us old fogies. So it's cool. I think it's 50. I think it's 52 pages. It's 52 or 56 pages long.
Jeez,
I can't remember right now.
Jeez Louise. Okay, well,
that's pretty big.
Well, people always miss our programs because
freaking events. And
they miss our programs because people would bring the books around and get them. I know Alex Johnson has a signed program from every convention up till when we stopped doing programs because he would go around and get all the special guests to sign his program, which I'd love to see that collection now. But it's awesome. But we didn't have one the last few years, and a few other people were disappointed also. Like, well, I like to see what games were there, and I like to be able to look back at my old programs and and see what games I played in, this and that.
Yeah, so that was the challenging part because I didn't just want to have like a vomit list of events. So I broke them down from what Gary sent me from Tabletop, and so how I broke them down was by genre. So you've got like all the Call of Cthulhu events are on 1 or 2 pages, right? And they're in order of the days that they're being played. So you've got like, I think the book starts with OD&D. There's like a page and a half of OD&D
Oh,
events.
cool. That's cool.
And it starts with the, Wednesday pre-con get it on, and the last event will be one on Saturday or Sunday. So they're in sequential order based on the day that they're played. But you got OD&D, classic like BX D&D. There's first edition D&D. There's 5e, Call of Cthulhu, Castles and Crusades. There's a lot. I do have a generic section because when there's like onesie twosies, like person's like I'm not going to do a whole page and there's only one event for Shadow.
Sure.
I'm not doing that. So there is a section like that, but there's a board game section which is totally sweet. There's 2 pages.
Very
of board
cool. Yeah, we
very
since
cool.
since Doug has passed, we have lightened up on our board game rules at this point because there's a lot of great board games out there.
I'm running Starfleet Battles as my Saturday night game.
I know. Awesome. That is the 70s. I got to come by and see that, man. That's going to be a 70s rush because that was our one of our lunchtime board games in high school was
I'm bringing
Starfleet Battles.
So I'm bringing a mega hex board too. So it's the 1-inch hexes with the larger counters and all that. So that's going to be fun. That should be exciting. So but yeah, there's lots of board games. It's really cool.
By the way, we're gonna put out a call next year. I would we have Kickstarter. We've been donating over the years these gigantic Kickstarter of some of the games that have been run last year. We're trying to find somebody that wants to run the Star Wars miniature game because Doug probably bought 100 Star Wars miniatures before he passed away.
Jesus.
So we have this giant collection of we haven't run it. We would like somebody to run the Fantasy Trip.
Doesn't Gillespie do Star Wars miniature war games?
I'll ask him. Maybe he will because we have a full set of whatever.
I seem to remember him posting a bunch of stuff. He does Star Wars miniatures. So
we also have the entire Kickstarter version of Fantasy Trip. I would love somebody. We have the giant maps, the cards, the character sheets. So I'd love somebody to run Fantasy Trip. And Ogre, we have the Kickstarter version of Ogre that Doug and I put together all those damn Ogre things, and it's a fun game. It's a cool game, and I don't think anybody's run it at the convention ever. We bought that specifically to be run at the convention, and nobody would be fun to run it. So we're going to be asking people to if next year they would run Ogre, Fantasy Trip, and Star Wars Miniature Battles. We'd love that.
That'd be awesome.
And we would set you up. We have all the stuff here. Just come and run the game. Boom. We have all the crap.
Mike, I haven't run Ogre in 30 years. Although I do have the box set, I don't have the room to ever unpack it.
Okay. Well, Eric, this might be your chance.
You might be getting. You might have volunteered yourself, Eric.
I don't know. We'll see.
We've got the giant kick-ass box set.
It was always, I used to love Ogre and GEV. I mean, that was
I remember the old pocket game version, but and I've told this story a zillion times. But we had a giant lunchroom. There was a big. So my high school was supposed to be a junior college, and they last minute decided to switch it. And so I had this high school that was enormous high school. So the cafeteria was gigantic. So in the back there was 3 long, giant cafeteria tables back there. And at lunchtime, all the gamers, anybody played games, back then, I don't know what they call us, nerds, whatever. They'd all go back there and play. We had this one guy, his name was Papa Squad Leader. And he always wore this military hat, and he had squad leaders set up. He'd run that every day. But we also ran pocket games, ran micro games. I mean, anything you could just bring up there was really, we didn't really usually have people bring up full D&D campaigns because there's just too much books. But yeah, the old micro games, Ogre got played, GEV. Anything like that you could just fit in your little school folder, your Trapper Keeper, whatever we had back then.
Oh yeah.
And then when people started playing D&D, they'd bring up the Holmes box set, and that's when we had the Papa Squad Leader versus D&D war, because they had the whole table for a while, and then the table started shrinking because the D&D players started getting bigger, and that was not looked at very well. But then Papa Squad Leader graduated the next year, and so at that point Squad Leader was gone, and D&D took over the whole table. but like I said, I remember playing Ogre. We had the little micro. You remember those kick-ass micro games? We brought those.
So
remember the old TSR games that came with the
TSR ones. Well, so I'm one of my big collections is actually so when I actually work for Task Force. A lot of people don't know. So I worked for Task Force Games back in the day. So we put out what was called pocket games back then.
Oh yeah,
And we
the Task Force pocket games, yeah.
Yes, put out quite a few. So I'm actually a big collector of micro games, pocket games, and I have a very large collection of those. It's one of my segmented hobby collections. TSR is one of my big
They were
collections.
very
obviously,
cool. They were
but-
so cool. Just the thought that you could fit like. I'm
Oh
trying to
yeah,
remember some of the
you can play most
Star,
of the micro game back games.
Starfire was a game, right?
Yeah, you can play
Starfire.
30 to 60 minutes almost any of
It
them.
was great, yeah. And so
Yeah.
people would bring Starfleet Battles. They would bring the little, like I said, the Task Force had the pocket games. What was the company? What's his name in Austin? They had the pocket.
Well, metagaming.
Metagaming, but I mean, those were great because back then you didn't want to draw attention to yourself if you were a super nerd. So you just wanted a game that fit into your folder or your folders or your book things. And those pocket games would fit in there perfectly. So you could walk around, people wouldn't go, "Hey, nerd." You would just, and then you pull it out at lunchtime and boom, you spread it out and you play your little game of poker or whatever.
Mike, you're right about that because Starfleet Battles was initially a pocket game. It started out as a little 16-page digest rule book.
It was great, and you could play it in an hour. You could play it in an hour, or
you could play relatively quickly, and it's turned into a game with a rule books that stack about 7 feet high, and that's the game it is. I love it. I'm a big Starfleet Battles guy, so. I wrote a lot of stuff for Starfleet back in the day. I haven't done anything in 20 years probably, but I did write quite a bit back in the day for it. So I'm excited I'm not actually playing. I'm just kind of hosting it. So
no, that'd be great. That's going to be so cool. Yeah,
it's going to be it's just a demolition derby. Everyone's getting a frigate and it's going to go kill each other. And I've like massively condensed the rules. It's going to, we're taking whole things out. It's going to be really simple. It's going to go in there and shoot each other pretty much. You just don't have time to do anything.
Kind of like BattleTech has turned into, or BottleTech.
Well, that's a whole other thing. we play according to the rules, and we do shoot each other a little bit.
There you go.
And after that, you don't kind of know what happens.
21 and over. Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh yeah.
There's some craziness going to go on this year with it. I know Gary's told me some things that he's doing on the down low, so it's going to be an epic year.
That's always a fun little. Yeah, that's always and you will have your own room upstairs now because you got chased out last year. So
the Pacesetter boardroom. So this year we stepped up, and Pacesetter is sponsoring the boardroom on the 14th floor. I think we have for the whole convention. So we're running all of our stuff up there. BattleTech is getting hosted up there, and I think we're letting. I don't know. I think Gillespie or someone. We're letting somebody run a game.
Oh, nice.
So, but yeah, we're excited to do that. It's gonna be fun. But yeah, we needed to do that, like Mike said, just because we got a little bit of little trouble last year.
We our luck was good for about 5 or 6 years, and then it finally ran out because of Gary. By the way, Gary's not here tonight. So I'm gonna throw Gary into the bus. Though it was so we kept it secret. So you really, when you go to conventions, kids, you're not supposed to drink alcohol in the game rooms unless you buy it from the actual hotel or gaming place you have.
Yes.
And so we kept it pretty low key for years by basically shutting the door and not being seen.
To be fair, they used to have a bar cart right outside our BattleTech room, and they didn't do that the last couple of years. So we had to start importing.
Yeah, so Gary got caught hauling a truckload of booze in there, and they said you can't do that. And so that was, and then it should have been in a boardroom years ago, but now it's where it needs to be. It's in a private. The boardrooms are awesome there. They have a little bathroom. They have a bar, everything kitchen. Need. Yeah, everything you need there. And so that's where it should have been years ago. So yeah, we'll hang there, and you guys can stay up as late as you want, doing whatever you want. And if you pass out,
last year
there's sofas in there, and there's a TV. And if
we lost 2 or 3 people last year, Mike, we just looked up and we're like, where'd he go?
They're just gone. They wandered back to their room or somewhere. Who knows?
It was a rough year. I'm not going to name names, but it was rough. But it's just so much fun. But that's North Texas again, so it's it's gonna be
great. By the way,
in fact, I'm coming down
2 weeks from now.
I'm coming down stupid early too. I'm actually driving this year. One because we're bringing a lot of crap, but I'm gonna drive to Florida afterwards. I'm leaving my car down there for the summer. I'm staying down for the summer, my wife and I.
That's a bit of a drive. Yeah,
it's only like 16 hours. It's not too bad, but But anyway, I'm probably going to be there. I'll be there sometime Tuesday.
We'll need help because I have a bad knee issue that has not cleared up, and I still can't squat. Yeah. I can't squat, so I've been trying to bring boxes back and forth. I just get tired very easily.
I got some muscle problems in my lower back. It's been giving
me old.
We're all getting old.
We're old.
Well, I did 12 years of active duty in the Army, and they always told me sooner or later it would catch up to me. But they said it's either going to be your knees or your back, and for me, it's actually my lower right hip. So
Oh, okay.
But
well,
yeah,
we
it is
need
what
more
it
young
is.
people. We'll tell Ben he's recruited. We need young people. We need more young people. That's why I'm trying to get more young people.
He's flying
to help us,
in. He's actually going to fly down, and I think he's flying down Wednesday, so he'll be
Damn
around
it.
to help. Yeah,
Yeah, we got to get some of
He'll
these
be around
young
to help.
guys to lift stuff because I lost my grandson last year. He's in the Air Force now. By the way, he's going to show up Saturday, but that's not going to help me
Not going to help.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So
No.
yeah, I need people to help. We need people to help load and unload. So if you can get there early and help us, that would be awesome.
Yeah, no, I'll be around to help out. I told Gary I'd be around to help out, whatever you guys need.
Great,
so.
good deal. Because yeah, we're all, like I said, we all have our issues now, and I can't squat. I can't squat anymore. And this doctor still haven't diagnosed what's wrong with my knee, so I've got to wait and see what happens when I do with that. But I can do everything except for squat. If I try to put any weight on it, it just gives out on me. So. And this is me losing 25 pounds, and my knee's still messed up. It's gone. So, I guess if it was I really have the knee in the back, Bill. I've had the back before. I've had a herniated disc.
I don't have any disc problem. For me, it's like a muscle or something in my lower right kind of back hip area. It's mostly muscle stuff. So
cool. We can share old man fucked up body stories when we get there. That's great.
Absolutely.
All right.
That's what old men do. That's what we do.
As we really get off the rails and get into the old man grognard shit. I want to thank Thraxis again.
Yes, thank you very much.
I thanked them in the chat. I want to thank him. We've just been talking too much.
This money's going to go to Eric's bar bill in North Texas. So thank you very much. I'm going to stay very close to Eric so I get my.
Rachel's taking care of the bar bill. I took care of the airfare, took care of the hotel, the con. Okay. She's got the food and booze. We got to.
Okay. I need to make friends with Rachel then. All right.
Yeah, there you go. Huge thank you to Bill.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, great to see
thank you, guys.
Great
talking. I want to thank you for having me on to be able to talk about the home stuff because it really all should just come back.
And that's in our wheelhouse. We love it. That's great. We're very excited.
I would say thank you to Mike, but I see Mike.
Yeah, we'll see you. Yeah. I'll see you. Oh, by the way, while we were talking to Bill, I confirmed Levi and Skeeter next week. So
Levi and Skeeter next week.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, Levi, and then he said he's going to get Skeeter. So
it's like your Reese's peanut butter cups.
I wouldn't look in that duo. Levi is the class. I don't know what Skeeter is in that duo.
Skeeter's all right. We actually hung out with Skeeter a lot at Chaosium Con this year.
I heard that. Oh man, I got to get up there for that one of these days.
It's pretty cool. Like it's small. It's a lot. It has some of that Texas vibe because it's held at a big Marriott down in Ann Arbor, and it's a big Marriott Convention Center. It's way, way larger than Chaosium needs. I mean, they have
my problem though is it's just
everything was spread out. It was nice.
It's a little too far for me to drive a 2-day drive. It's just a little.
It's a bit of
too far. It's like an 18-hour drive, and that's 2 9-hour days.
It's saying it's 17, 18 hours for me to get to you because I live literally 30 minutes from where Chaosium Con's held. So, we'd love to have you up. I mean,
I'll try to make it. Wisconsin's not bad. That's a 2-day 8-hour drive. That's not bad. But gosh, when you start throwing in 10-hour days, that's a tough one for me. So I'll see about it. But all my friends go. Everybody I know is there here, and it looks like you guys are having a blast.
A lot of the gang was there. A lot of the usual suspects, as Jim Kitchen would say, were there. So it was fun.
Folks, everybody in the live stream, thank you for joining us.
Thanks again, guys.
Yes, thanks so much.
I kept up this time. I was pretty good because Bill's good at talking, and he can't shut Mike up. So it gave me a lot of time to get into the chat.
I didn't get in trouble for interrupting Bill. No. Like I got in trouble for interrupting Kelsey.
No, there's one thing I'll talk, and you got to shut me up. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, so we balance each other out, right? Folks,
I even waited for Kelsey to stop talking most of the time. I said, "Okay, she stopped. She stopped. She stopped." And then I would say, "And I still talk too much." I said, "You still talk too much."
Yeah, I listened to it. I didn't think it was that bad, so I'm with you.
There you go.
But she's cool. We love her, and she didn't have any problems, so we're good.
Be safe. Be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Roll them well. 2 weeks, North Texas. I'll be there in the afternoon. Looking forward to meeting a lot of people in person for the first time. Always a great time.
Oh, we're going to sell out. Looks like we're creeping up. So
you're pretty close.
If you haven't gotten your tickets,
a lot of first-time people. Yes, please get your tickets very quickly because we will turn you away at the door if we don't have any seats for games. So Unless you just want to give us money and walk around, we'll take that. If you want to give us $60
Mike,
and
what
just
if they
wander
want?
around.
What if they want to get like a? I just want to see the vendors.
We'll probably that's going to be tough. We'll have to decide on that there.
You might
But
have to get like a shopping only.
we might give them a vendor pass, something like that.
Yeah,
but,
think
but
about
we
it.
usually trust people. Look, as long as you're just going to walk around, it's okay. If you want to sit down in the game, it's just the right thing to do to come say, "Hey, I played in a couple games."
Yeah.
I'm saying because for some people, cons are just about seeing vendors and going to Bad Mike's books and digging
Hell
through.
yeah, I got some good stuff there this year too.
So you see. Other than that, folks, God bless. Good night. Thank you all. And it's so nice not having to talk about COVID anymore. Holy shit.
Hopefully, cross fingers, no COVID in North Texas. So.
Yes.
No COVID. No COVID. No COVID. No COVID.
No COVID.
No COVID. No COVID.